If you've ever brightened someone's day prior to the sun even coming up, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. Today is going to be the Friday the 13th, March 13th edition. We've got a deluge of data coming. We've got Mark Putrino here today. We have Trading Made Simple with Sandy later today. We've got a full slate for you before we close out the week and go for mice down, drinks up time. I hope that you all had a wonderful Thursday night. We're back to close out Friday here strong. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here today. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Friday edition for March 13th, Friday the 13th, 2026, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. I hope that you all had a wonderful rest of your Thursday. It is great to have you back here today, and I am excited to close the week out strong with you all. My favorite time of the day, and yeah, Friday is one of my favorite days of the week. What can I say? What can I say? I'm sure it is for you folks too. Monday also is too, because I'm addicted to the financial markets. It is what it is. Peter is first here today. Good morning, Peter. Hope all is well out there in Colorado, my man. Great to see you again. And great to see you getting in here early consistently. It's absolutely awesome. Francis, good morning. Welcome back. Pot G, good morning. And good morning from Belgium. Isn't it afternoon there for you? If it is, I hope that you're having a splendid afternoon. Thanks for joining us here. And thanks for your support. Please smash up that like and subscribe. And click that little bell for notifications. Crispy Biscuit, good morning. Welcome back. Reaching Financial Freedom. Good morning. It's good to see you again. Solitary Soldier, welcome back. Zach McCracken. Good morning, Zach. Friday the 13th, let's make some spooky money. I suppose. I mean, it's still green, right? The spooky money. As long as it's green, we're going to be in good shape. Yes, that girl. Good morning. Welcome back. Robert, good morning. Welcome back. Big Dave, good morning. Welcome back, Big Dave. Oh my. Heading out to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for a car show in my 1976 442. See you guys back on the 23rd. Big Dave, I would love to hear what that car sounds like at Wide Open Throttle. Give me some watt runs. Give me some recordings of some watt runs and email them to me. That would make me happy. Enjoy the car show. Myrtle Beach is awesome this time of year. I've been there for golf, and it's absolutely great. Have a good time. Good morning, Wiss. Happy Friday, Wiss. After one day of the players, what do you think? Tell me what you think. Who's going to win that puppy? Producer, I didn't ask you about this because we took care of work stuff, but I'm curious to know what you think too. Speaking of producer, good morning, producer, and thank you for everything that you do. G-Cord, good morning. Welcome back. It's great to see you. Dusker, good morning. Could we look at ACM stock today? Will it benefit from the war? Sure. Let me go ahead and add ACM. I'm glad you didn't say AMC, to be quite honest with you. But let me go ahead and add ACM to the list here. We can absolutely take a look at it. I'm not familiar with it, so forgive me as I familiarize myself with it. CoinFox, great to see you. Welcome back. How are you doing, CoinFox? And what's on your list here today for looking at stuff? Oh, and let's get ready to rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. I can't do a good Michael Buffer, but you get the idea. Indeed, let's do that. Let me know what's on your list here today. I'd love to see that. Marionette, it's good to see you as always. Welcome back, buddy. Brian, good morning. Welcome back. What do you think of the Jets offseason so far? Let me know. Theme, good morning. It's great to see you. Ethan, good morning. Ethan's asking, has anyone made their own Bloomberg terminal? I've messed around with it. I've got the makings of like a stock market lookup tool. I'm trying to figure out what other kinds of things that I would like to add to that. But I would not even insult the Bloomberg terminal and say that I've created something like that. Not yet. We'll see what the future holds, though. Let me know what you've done and what you're working on. I'm very interested in that. Vibe coding has all of a sudden become a hobby, which is weird. Yak Shamash, happy Friday. Good morning, Bob. It's great to see you. Hope you are well. Austin, good morning. Great to see you. Cam says it's Friday, and indeed it is. Good to have you back here, Cam. Lion, good to see you again. Good morning. Marty, good morning. Where do the Optimus robots go at night? They won't be in the kitchen cleaning steak knives, right? No, they won't. Maybe recharging. I don't know. That's a good question, though. What do you do with the robot? I feel like if I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw a robot walking around, I'd be half asleep, and my first instinct would be to clear the house because what the heck's going on? But this is the new world that we're going to have to live in. Corey, good to see you. Good morning, as always. Rooster, good morning. Happy Friday. Bernhard, good morning. Happy Friday. Lion, try and calm down. Take a deep breath. It's going to be just fine. Day Trader, good morning. Canarp, good morning. Happy Friday the 13th. Indeed. AC, good morning. Lost Penny, good morning. The end of the trading day to go to the pub and get the pint. We're almost there. Almost there, as we like to say around these parts. Carlos, good morning. Welcome back. JJ, good morning. It's good to see you as always. Jim, good morning. Wiss says JT looks good. You know what? He does look good. I'm really hoping that he can pull it together. He's fun to watch. Dive Deep, good morning. Welcome back. Robot to Trade, good morning. Welcome back. Tom, good morning. Welcome back. Just passing through, good morning, welcome back. Dirkus, it's good to see you as always. And Up 30, good morning, welcome back. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. All right, futures in the green across the board ahead of Friday's open. This is actually something that we've seen a number of times. Even when weeks are weak, the Friday ends up being a fairly decent session. And if the pre-market futures are any indication, that's what's on deck here today. S&P futures up 0.35%, and they have bounced nicely from the 6640 level in the pre-market. Dow futures up 0.37%, and the NASDAQ futures up 0.34%. Let's take a look at some cues from last session here. It was a doozy. Energy and utilities closed higher on Thursday, while industrial, consumer discretionary, healthcare, and IT sectors tumbled, dragging the broader indices down. Investors await the delayed January personal consumption expenditure data today, which is the Federal Reserve's preferred gauge of inflation. So we'll see if these green arrows thus far can hold after we get that data print here in about 23 minutes. Meanwhile, President Trump in a Truth Social post warned Iran, saying, quote, "Watch what happens to these deranged scumbags today," end quote, after the Iran's supreme leader warned that the Strait of Hormuz would remain closed on Thursday. Cool story, bro. Well, the IRGC signaled potential retaliation against Israel's Leviathan and Karish gas fields. These threats to regional energy infrastructure coincide with the confirmed crash of a U.S. KC-135 refueling plane in Iraq and reports of explosions in Dubai following a drone interception. The 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.28%, and the 2-year bond was at 3.76%. As mentioned, it is a certainty at this point, at least based on the CME Fed Watch tool, that we do not move interest rates at all next week in the March meeting. Now, we've got several stocks in focus for you here today, and the first one is without a doubt the biggest one. This is going to be Adobe. Ticker on this one is ADBE, and it dropped 9.02% in the pre-market on Friday, despite reporting upbeat financial results for the first quarter of fiscal 2026 after the market closed yesterday. However, CEO Shantanu Narayan decided to transition from his CEO role after a successor had been appointed. Also, by the way, Adobe's Q1 EPS of 606 beat the 587 estimate. Sales of 6.398 billion beat the estimate of 6.276 billion. They see Q2 adjusted EPS of 580 to 585. That was versus a 565 estimate. And they see sales of 6.43 to 6.48 billion. That was versus the estimate of 6.425 billion. So a little bit of a hike there. Adobe also affirms fiscal year 26 adjusted EPS guidance of 23.30 to 23.50. That was versus the 23.50 estimate. So that's in line. And they affirmed full year 26 sales guidance of 25.9 million to 26.1, billion. 25.9 billion to 26.1 billion. That was versus the estimate of 26.025 billion. So again, that one is in line there for Adobe. The next stocks on our list are actually a theme, a trio, if you will, and they're all related to the same same happenings. They're as part of the same theme. Fertilizer stocks like Mosaic, ticker MOS, CF Industries, ticker CF, and Nutrien, ticker NTR, all advanced amid concerns that the ongoing closure of the Strait of Hormuz will limit exports from key Middle East producers, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, impacting fertilizer supply prices worldwide. The next stock on our list is going to be PAR Technology. That's ticker PAR. It plunged 22.08% after it announced the pricing of a private offering of $250 million in 4% convertible senior notes that are due in 2031. The next stock on our list was probably the second biggest earnings report of the day yesterday. This is Ulta Beauty, and the ticker on this one is ULTA. It tumbled 10.81% despite posting better than expected earnings for the fourth quarter. However, it expects fiscal 2026 GAAP EPS of $28.05 to $28.55 versus the 28.38 estimate. So that's likely the reason for the move down there. The last stock on our list is going to be Zumiez. That's ticker ZUMZ. And it fell 8.07% regardless of reporting upbeat earnings for the fourth quarter on Thursday. But the company said it sees first quarter GAAP loss of 87 cents to 77 cents per share versus market estimates of a loss of 75 cents per share. All right, let's take a look at the SPY chart here. Let's see where we're at and get an idea of where we might go next. So it certainly has looked like over the last several sessions that the big bullish engulfing candle that we got on Monday had zero carry through. The very next day, we actually closed beneath the top of the body of that candle. The following day, we had a neutral day. And then yesterday, we had a really weak day that took us down to the bottom of the support range. Yesterday, we actually had a closing price beneath the 667.34 area. In fact, we closed at 666 and change and 666.06 actually. And then today's Friday the 13th. So let your spooky memes flow here today. We'll see how it trades. It certainly looks like the SPY wants to roll over and at a minimum test that 200-day, perhaps even a 5% pullback from all-time highs or 10% pullback from all-time highs. Let me just give you an idea of what kind of level that would be. I'm just basically ballparking this. A 5% pullback from the all-time highs puts us basically right at the 200-day. A 10% pullback from the all-time highs puts us right down here at about 627. So that would actually be a significant break of the 200 EMA. We'll see if we end up getting it, but it certainly looks like the SPY wants to roll over. Now, today we're bouncing, but as always, we want to see where this candle closes. We have a big data print that we need to get here today, and then we obviously have the session as well. So we want to see where the SPY closes. Personally, for the purpose of trading, I actually really want the SPY to move down here. I would love a break through the SPY. I would love for it to get people fired up and worried, and then very quickly recapture it and resume a bull trend. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. We've talked a lot about seasonality recently and how that kind of flips middle to the end of March. We've seen that the more recent seasonality stats have not lived up to the trend over the years. We'll see if we get that here in March. But this is what I'm looking at here on the SPY. Key levels are going to be the same. Support and previous area breakout levels, as well as that 200-day if we continue to roll over. Now let's take a look at some insights here from analysts. Senior global market strategist Scott Wren maintains a cautiously optimistic view of the U.S. economy despite the financial market turmoil, while acknowledging that there will be some key short-term inflation effects, particularly through rising gas and grocery prices. Wren believes a recession is unlikely. He attributes the resilience to a structural shift. The U.S. is now a net exporter of oil and possesses a, quote, much more service-oriented, end quote, economy compared to the energy-intensive periods of the past Gulf wars. Regarding the stock market, Wren identifies a lack of clarity driven by, quote, oil prices on a roller coaster ride, end quote. Consequently, he recommends a strategy shift away from overextended energy assets. He suggests investors bring energy sector and commodity allocations back to neutral, rotating those funds into U.S. large cap and mid cap equities. Interesting. Within these classes, he identifies financials as the most favored due to the recent underperformance, while also showing a preference for industrials and utilities. Now, I think what I like the most about this is that the most favored section here of financials, that's obviously one that's been recently beaten down. But those industrials, those utilities, those are absolutely going to play a key role in the AI phase 2 that we've been talking about, or some of the thing behind the thing or picks and shovels plays on the back of the AI trade. Looks like Scott's positioning himself smack dab in the middle of that. Essentially, Wren views the current volatility as a prompt to rebalance toward broader equity sectors while the economy weathers temporary energy disruptions. The first revision of the fourth quarter GDP number, January's personal income and personal spending data, and January's delayed headline and core PCE reports, including year-over-year figures, will be out by 8:30 here. Again, 14 minutes away from right now. January's job opening data and March's preliminary consumer sentiment report will both be out by 10 today. Okay, now one of the big stories here regarding the energy market, Trump eases sanctions on Russian oil that is stranded at sea to counter the supply shock amid the conflict. The Trump administration issued a temporary authorization for countries to purchase Russian oil that is currently stranded at sea, a move designed to stabilize global energy markets as tensions from the Iran-U.S. war push Brent crude prices over 100 per barrel. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced the narrowly tailored short-term measure on Friday, aiming to inject immediate supply into a volatile market. The directive specifically targets oil already in transit, providing a release valve for global inventories without permanently easing the broader sanction regime against Moscow. Quote, to increase the global reach of the existing supply, the U.S. Treasury is providing a temporary authorization to permit countries to purchase Russian oil currently stranded at sea. This comes on the back of the Jones Act revision that we got news about yesterday. Amazing how many people on FinTwit became Jones Act experts yesterday. That was rather amusing. The decision comes as WTI crude hovers near 95.17 and the Brent oil sits at 113 as of the publication of this article, both flirting with 52-week highs. If anyone wants any of the tweets that are in here, let me drop the article in here real quick. The administration emphasized that the move is calculated to prevent a windfall for the Kremlin. According to the Treasury, the measure applies only to oil already extracted and loaded, meaning the bulk of the fiscal benefit to Russia had already occurred through domestic taxation. Quote, this will not provide significant financial benefit to the Russian government, which derives the majority of its energy revenue from taxes assessed at the point of extraction, end quote. That was directly from Bessent. So when you see all of the hype about how this is helping Russia, just know it's nonsense. While the waiver provides immediate relief, the administration remains focused on domestic production. Bessent noted that President Trump's pro-energy policies have already driven U.S. production to record levels, though the current Middle East instability created a temporary short-term disruption. The Treasury maintains that these decisive steps are necessary to ensure the hardworking Americans do not bear the brunt of the geopolitical instability, viewing the current price spike as a hurdle that will eventually result in a massive benefit to our nation and economy in the long term. Now, the United States Oil Fund, or the USO, which we've taken a look at here, I know several of you folks are trading that, which tracks the WTI crude futures, was up over 22.93% over the last 5 sessions and 69.76% year to date. Also, it returned 61.49% over the past 6 months and 62.62% over the year. On Thursday, it closed 9.57% higher at 118.39. Now, let's talk about Adobe. What we're going to do is start with the chart here. Let's figure out exactly where we're at. We'll talk about the CEO transition as well as the earnings reports. You don't need me to remind you, Adobe has been in a downtrend, just like a lot of other software stocks. One of the interesting things about this is that we actually tested this support level. Looked like we were going to try and bounce from this level, but we ended up breaking it. Now, we're trading down even lower here today, 248. So it looked like we might try and recapture this, maybe even get that 50 as we traded above the 20-day moving average. But with the earnings here and the move down, we're currently sitting at 248. Let me mark that off on the chart here. 248, just basically right at the bottom of this. I suspect that this level is going to get tested here today on Adobe. Quick peek at the RSI. It's in no man's land, 45 and a half-ish. About there. We're actually below a volume point of control that goes all the way back to 2018. So weakness here for Adobe. We'll see where the support is. If you folks have any idea or thought on trading this and where it might find some support, let me know. I'm curious to hear. Adobe chief Shantanu Narayan to exit after a very long reign. Adobe shares, fell sharply in Friday's pre-market trading after the company unexpectedly announced that longtime CEO Shantanu Narayan will step down following 18 years leading the software giant. On Thursday, Adobe reported fiscal first quarter revenue of $6.4 billion and adjusted EPS of $6.06, which topped estimates of $6.28 billion and $5.87 billion, respectively. The company also disclosed a planned CEO transition, saying that CEO Shantanu Narayan will step down after a successor is appointed while remaining the board chair. So he's not fully leaving, he's just stepping down from the CEO role. Adobe expects second quarter revenue of $6.43 billion to $6.48 billion. That was versus the estimate of $6.43 billion. And adjusted EPS of $5.80 to $5.85 versus the estimate of $5.68. Adobe affirms its full-year revenue guide of $25.9 billion to $26.1 billion versus the estimate of $26.03 billion, and adjusted EPS of $23.30 to $23.50 versus the estimates of $23.50. The company disclosed that it exceeded 850 million monthly active users across Acrobat, Creative Cloud, Express, and Firefly. This marks a 17% year-over-year growth, demonstrating both robust engagement and strong monetization potential. Also, Adobe achieved growth of over 30% year-over-year in AEP and apps, as well as Adobe Gen Studio ending ARR. Management stated that user growth is picking up pace with monthly active users hitting new highs. Creative freemium accounts alone exceeded 80 million monthly active users, a 50% year-over-year increase spanning web and mobile versions of Firefly, Express, Premiere, Photoshop, and Lightroom. The company anticipates growth in MAUs for Firefly and Express, combined with rising AI adoption and monetization, to accelerate throughout the year. Adobe sees total ARR growth of 10.2% in fiscal year 26. Adobe is trading 7.1% below its 20-day simple moving average and 21.3% below its 100-day moving average, keeping the longer-term trend pointed lower as sellers have controlled all rallies. Shares are down 28.6% over the past 12 months and are sitting much closer to the 52-week low than the 52-week high. RSI being at 44.68, which sits in neutral territory, but reflects muted demand after the recent sell-off. MACD at minus 2.3162 versus a signal line of minus 5.3726, a bullish configuration that suggests downside momentum is easing, even though the trend remains weak. So as we were just taking a look at the chart, we're right around this support area. It'll be interesting to see if Adobe can either stop the bleeding or even bounce a little bit and give some type of entry there. Key resistance 285.50 and key support 244.50. So a nice little 41-point range there. Looking further out, the next major catalyst for the stock arrives in with the June 11th, 2026 earnings report. Remember, they haven't confirmed the exact day, but it'll be on or around that day. The EPS estimate is 523. That's up from 5.06 year over year. The revenue estimate is 6.43 billion. That's up from 5.87 billion year over year. And the valuation, the PE of 16.2 suggests a fair valuation relative to its peers. And that's one of the things we've actually been discussing in Happy Hour is with the move down, particularly in software, which is outsized, at what point do some of the multiples make sense again for these to be trades? It's kind of a sliding scale on when the value guys are going to come in. I know we trade some of these stocks based on the chart, based on some of the momentum, but really, where are we going to get some of the value players that think, you know what, the stock's cheap enough now? Stock's cheap enough now, and I actually want to buy it and hold it. Analyst consensus and recent actions. TD Cowen is at a hold. They lowered their target to 325 on March 10th. Wells Fargo is at overweight. They lowered their target to 405. That was on March 9th. And RBC Capital has an outperform. They're maintaining their 430 target. That again was on March 9th. All right. Got another story here regarding some robots. Got to get some robots news and stories in on a regular basis. This is more about SpaceX and the Elon's company here. The S&P 500 rule change could boost Elon Musk's led SpaceX entry into the index. The S&P 500 index, managed by the S&P Global Dow Jones Indices, lists some of the largest companies on the planet and is reportedly mulling changing its rules for entry into the index as the Elon Musk-led commercial space flight giant SpaceX gears up for its IPO later this year. The index is mulling changing the rules governing how companies are allowed to join. Bloomberg reported on Thursday, citing an anonymous source familiar with the matter. An expedited entry into the fund could see billions in forced buying of SpaceX stock, as funds track the index must buy shares of newly added companies. That's per the report. The index was in talks with parties to see if there was interest in such a rule change, but it was still some time away and awaits a formal consultation. The index has over 24 trillion tied to it, according to that same report. Current rules to enter the index dictate that a company must be domiciled in the U.S., have a market cap of at least $22.7 billion, and be publicly listed for at least 12 months. The news comes as SpaceX is reportedly leaning towards a listing on the NASDAQ, joining several tech companies, including Elon Musk's Tesla. The commercial space flight giant was also pushing to join the NASDAQ 100, an index of the largest companies on the platform, which was questioned by investment firm Gerber Kawasaki's co-founder, Ross Gerber. Elsewhere, Milan is what I just said. Yikes. Elsewhere, Musk confirmed that the company was targeting a $1.75 trillion valuation for the upcoming IPO in a post on the social media platform X. SpaceX had recently acquired Musk's artificial intelligence startup XAI and is also reportedly targeting a dual-class structure for the IPO. All right, have some more news here on Accenture, and this one is more regarding just AI in general. This is something that we've been discussing quite a bit here recently. Accenture CEO Julie Sweet announced that proficiency in artificial intelligence is now a mandatory requirement for career advancement within the company. Speaking on the Rapid Response podcast, Sweet said employees must demonstrate AI competency to move up the ranks. Quote, if you want to get promoted, you've got to do things that we do in order to operate Accenture, end quote. Pretty vague, but makes sense on the surface. Sweet noted that the company gave employees 3 years to acclimate to AI tools before making proficiency a promotion requirement. While Accenture mandates AI proficiency across its workforce, broader adoption actually remains limited. A Gallup poll revealed that only 38% of companies had integrated AI to enhance workplace productivity, efficiency, and quality by the fourth quarter of 2025. This recent announcement aligns with Accenture's previous move to make AI usage a requirement for senior promotions. Accenture's push for AI adoption is further highlighted by its expanded strategic partnership with Google Cloud, the primary cloud computing unit of Alphabet, aimed at addressing AI cyber threats. However, despite these efforts, AI adoption in the U.S. is facing growing skepticism, with Americans increasingly attributing rising energy costs and corporate layoffs to AI, highlighted by OpenAI's CEO Sam Altman at a BlackRock U.S. Infrastructure Summit on Tuesday. This is really the crux of everything, though, that we've been talking about. Yes, AI is going to delete some jobs. It's also going to create others. And really, if you're on this curve, or if you're worried about this, or if you have a kid that's coming into the workforce, very, very quickly, what this is telling you is get proficient with AI. There are going to be available opportunities for you, whether it's promotion or a new job. The more you are able to handle this, the more fluent you are with it, the better off it's going to be for you. And I think that's a takeaway that everyone can kind of benefit from. Accenture has a market cap of 120.6 billion with a 52-week high of 326.3 billion. And thank you, producer. So I'm glad that you mentioned this. I'll share some of my own experience as well. Claude actually has education courses on how to use it. And furthermore, going back to the question that we got from Ethan earlier today about who's created their own Bloomberg platform, right now, one of the things that I do in my free time after work is Claude is actually teaching me coding fundamentals. So I told you I started coding some indicators for my platform. I've actually graduated from that now, and I'm starting to learn how to make applications, web-based applications myself. And instead of just having Claude spit out a bunch of code to which I cannot understand, I'm actually having it teach me what a lot of this stuff means. So when I look at it, I have a more firm understanding of it. And I'll tell you something, producer, it has absolutely blown me away on how good it is and how effective it is. I used to think I was just an idiot that needed to learn how to code. And guess what? That's what's happening to me. So really, really interesting. All right, our big data point. It is here. Here we go. U.S. core PCE price index month over month for January, 0.4 versus the 4/10 estimate. U.S. core PCE price index year over year for January, 3.1% versus the 3.1% estimate. And U.S. GDP price index quarter over quarter was 0.7 versus the 1.4% estimate. S&P futures up on the back of this report so far. S&P futures up 0.46% here in the pre-market. Not a huge pop from this, but we did pop a little bit. And thus far, I know it's early, but thus far, we are holding that pop. All right. It's Friday, which means a couple of things. Number one, of course, we're having fun. And of course, it's near the end of the week. But what it also means is that we welcome on one of our favorite guests, Mark Putrino, who, as a reminder, just before we bring him on, I want to remind you folks of a couple of things. Number one, Mark produces a bunch of content within the Benzinga Edge product. So if Pro is maybe not the right fit for you, but you still want trading ideas, thoughts on different things, Benzinga Edge, very, very low cost, lightweight, easy to use, and contains content from Mark. But also, we would really like you to subscribe to Mark's podcast, or Mark's Substack, excuse me. Mark, if you ever want to start a podcast, I know someone that would like to do that with you. But definitely subscribe to Mark's Substack. A lot of good stuff in there, and he shares it with us on a regular basis. So without further ado, let's bring him on. Mark, good morning. Happy Friday. How you doing, my man?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing really good. It's Friday, so it's time for me to get excited. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, so I've thought about doing podcasts, but my problem is I do a lot of chart stuff, right? So can you do podcasts that have visuals, or are they just
Sure, your podcast is just a YouTube show, and you can get the pod on YouTube. There will be a streaming component to it. Spotify, I believe, allows the same thing. But here's the one thing I'd like to remind you of here, Mark. When you have something like this, when you have a piece of media that is both video and audio, a pro, if you will remind folks when you're describing a chart what it actually looks like to those that can't see it. So I still think there's a lot of value that you'd be able to do from that. And I know that just given by the reaction that we have here from our group, there is absolutely an appetite for that. I feel like you could do an hour or two of charting, and that alone would hit. Mark, do it, Mark. Yes, video podcasts. Smart idea, says Ethan. So, Mark, we might be onto something.
All right. Well, hey, man, if someone wants to help me, don't forget, I'm an old guy over here. I don't know how to do all this
You
stuff.
got my phone number. Let's talk about it and do it. I'm all about that. I love discussions that lead to more educated decisions. Whether it go through mistake or through lessons learned, I'm all about raising the tide for everybody. So I love the idea. Anyway, enough of all of that. Mark, what do you have for us here today? Did you want to discuss your stock of the day? Do you want to share your screen and maybe go over some charts here today? Great.
Yes, indeed. Well, let's just hope that the end of days is not upon us, because you may have noticed, I'm sure, my screen chart. Look at where we closed yesterday, 666. How about that?
And today's Friday the 13th.
Yeah, it's a little numerology going on there.
Little
That comes
numerology
from
going on.
I went to Catholic school, and this is from the Book of Revelation. It's Julius Gaius Caesar. That's where that's what John was referring to in the Book of Revelation. That's where it says 666. At least that's what they taught us. Now, speaking of numbers, something absolutely amazing happened, and I haven't heard anyone talking about it. But if you really think about this, it's incredible. Did you know that on Tuesday, the XLK ETF was literally unchanged from the day before its close? Didn't move 1 cent, not one penny. It was unchanged. It's the only time that that has ever happened in its history where something was unchanged. And, you may kind of take that for granted and think like, gee, well, big deal. But let's think about it. This thing trades 23 million shares a day. It's $136 security. This isn't the old days where something was unchanged because you had quarters and halves and dollars, quarters, halves. Now you have pennies. And I just thought that that was really remarkable, because if you think about how many things have to come together for that to happen and for it to be that precise, it's pretty remarkable. And I only remember it happening on the S&P, at least that I can think of, 2 times. I'm sure we could use one of these AI things to find out. But what was interesting is when I first looked at this, I was on the phone with someone who did look it up on Grok and said, how many times has the XLK been unchanged? And it said 3, which were wrong because it was only that one. So how about that? I stumped the AI.
Good. That's awesome. Stumping the AI is a good thing.
All right. A couple things I'm just kind of keeping an eye on here. I'm kind of interested in watching this hymns because
We get asked about this all the time. I'm so glad you're bringing this up.
well, I'm probably bringing it up for a different reason than most people would think. I'm bringing it up because this is such a heavily shorted stock that I'm looking for a potential, what I call the old short squeeze unwind. So you have this massively shorted stock.
Yeah.
And when someone wants to short a stock, they borrow shares from someone else and they sell them. The idea is that in the future, they'll buy them back at a lower price, return the shares, and then keep the difference. Now, so that puts us in the mirror image. If the price starts going up, the short sellers start to lose money because they're going to have to buy their shares back at a higher price. Now, every stock has a short interest. The short interest is the amount of shares, that the percentage of the float that's been borrowed to short, but it's typically 1 or 2%. If you were to look at Nvidia or Microsoft, it'd be like 1 or 2%. This is over 40% shorted. So this is one of the most shortest stocks in the market.
And Mark, really quick, I'm sorry to interrupt here, but as of our last data print here in Benzinga Pro, which is fresh as of March 10th, HIMS has a 46.09% of float shorted and 2.58 days to cover.
I mean, that's about as high as it gets, is when you get into the high 40s.
I think we saw Carvana in the 60s or 70s at one point. That's the only one I can remember off the top of my head that was higher.
Yeah. Now, what happens is if we go into a short squeeze, the shorts basically start to panic and they start to outbid each other, because the higher it goes, the more they lose. When you get to the point where the people who loaned out the shares see how high the price has gone and they decide that they want to sell and they demand their shares back, then the short sellers have to go out into the market and buy them regardless of the price. And that can jack the price up. And the idea is when the short squeeze unwinds, is what I call it. That's what I'm looking for. Something like this happens. You can get this massive move lower, right back to where it started. So as you can see, this stock has been squeezed before.
Yeah.
So the idea here is on the way down, you start thinking about buying puts. So we haven't really started to unwind yet, but I would say, I don't know, if this dropped back below this support here, I'd get pretty interested, because if it is a short squeeze unwind, I mean, this thing could drop back to here in a matter of literally hours potentially. So that's something that's on the radar screen.
Okay.
Yeah, I
That's up
saw.
2% here in the pre-market hymns, by the way.
Oh yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah, no, like anything, the key is to wait for it to start. It might it might crash because of a short squeeze unwind, but it might not. Maybe this news is a legitimate game changer and it stays higher. But anything that has a short squeeze, I mean, sorry, a short interest percentage that's that high is liable to go into a squeeze at any given moment. The last one that I really did well on was the Beyond Meat, which I'm sure we've talked about, where you can get literally something like this. The stock goes to, well, it starts off around, let's call it 90 cents. In a matter of 2 days, gets all the way up to 750 and then comes all the way back down here. So on the way down, when this got back below the opening price here, that's when it became apparent to me that this breakdown was covering. And yeah, there was some pretty nice trades to be made here. And even with all that going on, look at where we found resistance at the former resistance level. I want to point out, I know a lot of us probably are not futures traders, but I was talking a lot about this on my website, and I know some people were in on it and were able to profit from it. This is one of the most amazing moves that I have ever seen in my 30 some odd years as being a trader. So look at what happened in the oil market the other day. So oil opens at let's just say 79 on Friday morning. On Monday, gets up to 120, gets all the way back down to around 81 and closes around 85. So that's one hell of a move. That's one hell of a round trip. Now, there was
I mean,
this.
it takes months normally to make moves like that. It did it in a day.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, think about how much money was made and how much money was lost just in a matter
Well,
of hours.
I'll tell you what, Mark, and you should be proud here because one of our regulars here in the morning show, Big of Bees, played this perfectly in both directions. Played
Nice.
calls, flipped to puts, and I mean, it was a masterclass. Did a great job talking about that on Happy Hour. Real sharp guy, and you'd be proud. You'd be proud.
Yeah, unfortunately, I only caught the downside, but what I did was I got into this. I didn't get the upside, but this here, I mean, it doesn't really look like a lot, but this is a leveraged ETF that moves in the opposite direction of oil. So
Mm-hmm.
this thing moved a matter of like 20% in like about 2 hours. So
And that was also called live that morning by another one of our viewers here in the chat. So I'm glad you're highlighting this. And I'm sorry for revisiting some victory laps here, but I think that they were well earned given this trade.
yeah, well, things like this, they they don't come along too often, but they do come every couple months. You see something that's just just a in hindsight, like the PayPal, like in hindsight, it's just an easy trade, right? I mean, you get the most volume that's ever traded, the most ever sold that it's ever was in its history. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so this was the most ever sold it ever was in its history. And we had a volume spike that was the highest volume that it ever traded. Now, sometimes when you get a trend, and when you get to the end of the trend or close to the end of the trend, you get a big spike in volume, and that's what happened here. Now, in the situation like this could be a bullish thing. And sorry, I've just got to fix the colors here. I can't stand these
All
colors.
good.
Um, so what happens is this, right? The sellers are watching this thing go lower and lower and lower, and they get sick and tired of it. And they finally they just throw in the towel. They can't take it anymore. and they sell all their shares. As a result, you get this big, massive spike in volume. So this is the most that's ever traded in a single day. Now, the reason why that's bullish is because when the smoke clears and buyers start to say, well, that news was bad, but I think the market overreacted a little, I'm going to go in and buy. Well, they have a hard time finding sellers, and they have to really push the price up. So you can see we got back into this gap, and we made this nice big kind of move right there. So that was an interesting trade too. So as traders, we look for extremes. When you start hearing things like most volume ever traded, most oversold ever, that's when it's worth paying attention to.
Now, would you say in that scenario, Mark, that you're just generally a contrarian, right? Like all of the hype, let's say for the oil move down or the oil move up, all of the hype, oh my God, oil is going up $200 a barrel, inflation, what are we going to do? Do you just take the contrarian part of that? How does that work? How do you actually set up the trade once you see this extreme move?
I try to not think about it and just wait for the reverse to start, right? I mean, for those of you who follow me on my Substack, you know that I was waiting for this oil reversal. I at first thought it was going to happen down here, but the reversal never came, right? My trigger to get in the trade was when the RSI line turned lower. So it never came. And I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this thing could have gone to 120. It could have gone to 150. It would have gone to 200. I have no idea where it's going to go. But I do know that markets revert to equilibrium. So if something goes too far in one direction, there's a good chance it's going to go back in the other direction. A big theme that trading models are built around is reversion to the mean. So even if you use something like the Bollinger Bands, right? Let's pick another random security, Hyatt hotels. If you look at these Bollinger Bands, this is all about reversion to the mean. This upper band is 2 standard deviations above the 20-day moving average, and the lower one is 2 standard deviations below. So when you get to this on the upside or the downside, it's considered overbought or oversold because 95% of trading is supposed to be within 2 standard deviations of the mean.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a reversion to the mean. And now this right here just, to me, looks like a potential trading idea because even though the market's been going lower, it's been pretty much holding up pretty well. It's a contained sell-off. I mean, if we look at the technology sector, the tech sector has really, the tech sector has still held its level, right? The real weakness has been coming out of the financials, and that's what we talked about last week, where that the financials are going to lead the market. But if the financials go and tech starts to go, then you got to ask yourself, where do you start thinking about buying things? All right. Now, the obvious level here is 650 on the S&P. Now, the reason why I think if we do get this, we're going to get a bounce is because once again, we've had another massive shoot up higher in bearish sentiment. If we go to our AAII, then look at the jump up we had in bearish sentiment, 48% or 48%. So almost half of investors are bearish now. And this is what we call a contrarian indicator. If you have an extreme amount of, let's say, bullishness, it's actually bad for the market because what that shows you is that if people are extremely bullish, they're fully invested. There's no more money on the sidelines. Now, we're not at an extreme in bearishness, although we're getting pretty close, which is a bullish sign for the market. It shows there's money on the sidelines. So that's why I think if we go into a bit of a sell-off and we don't hold and we get down to there, it's going to probably be buying opportunities galore because I think that the market's going to come back. I mean, other than the financials, a lot of the market just does not look that bad. I mean,
Yeah,
is that
and I'm sorry to interrupt you there. I was just going to say one of the things I highlighted before you got on here is how close we are to the 200 day. A little bit more of a move down through and then a recapture of the 200 day would also meet that contrarian scenario you just set up. And on top of that, it would be done right along a well known or well looked at support level. So I'm kind of waiting this one out too.
Yeah, and there's some stuff out there that there's a lot of charts that look like this. This is Estee Lauder, where we've got a lot of things that have sold off, this being one of them, that is sitting right at a support level, and it's from a former resistance level. So this is a trade idea that I like here, actually, for a reversal. So
Okay.
we could
Love it.
see that, I guess, is 85, we can call it. Goes actually back even farther. Wow, look at that. So this particular price level goes all the way back to August of 24 was support, then it became resistance, then it became support, now it's support again. So this is an example of market memory. Price levels that are important sometimes can remain important for a long time, and this is a good example of it right here. Another thing
Okay.
that I
Yep.
caught my eye was WR Berkeley. This is another stock that is at a support level, which I don't even remember how I randomly came across this.
God,
Oh,
that
look at that.
also
That's
looks
got,
like kind of a head and shoulders on that as well.
yeah, you got a bit of a bullish engulfing pattern there too.
Yep. Yep.
So that's
Right
pretty
off the
interesting.
neckline.
All right. Yeah. So anyone want to fire away some questions?
Yeah, I would like to. I'm going to start here with one of the stocks that was requested by the group here, and it's actually somewhat similar to Estee Lauder. Can we take a look at Ulta, which reported earnings last night?
What's the symbol?
Oh, ULTA.
Oh, well, okay. I should know this because my daughter spent a lot of money at this place.
Not enough. They reported earnings down 8% here today.
Oh gosh. Well, that's
Yeah,
because they've
don't
been
tell her
away.
I said don't tell her I said that or you're in big trouble.
That's because they've been away at school. When it'll go back over the summer. Trust me.
Okay.
Oh, and I would like to announce before I forget that the state of Connecticut has opened an official investigation into all the UFOs that have been flying around over here. Not to change the
Fantastic.
subject, but yeah, yeah, right. For a couple towns over that gave this big report that they were talking about. So anyway, yeah. So now this would be the type of thing where we're taking a big nosedive here, and I assume it's because of the earnings, right? Now, look at this is where I would be keyed in on here, like right around 570, and look at where it is now. So this is a situation where we're going to have a stock that is very oversold, and it's going to be at a level that support. So this is the type of thing that I would look for a potential reversal. Sometimes there are overreactions on these headline news stories, and if there tends to be a reversal, as we've talked about, they tend to start mid-morning, because right now, all over the place, you got these people in conference rooms talking about these earnings. Were they good, bad? Is this an overreaction? And if people start to come to the conclusion that this was an overreaction, well, they may start coming in and start buying, and that usually starts mid-morning. So I would definitely have this on the radar screen for some kind of reversal here. Again, nothing other than we have an oversold stock that's at a potential support level. We get support at former resistance levels all the time. People sold here regret selling when the price goes higher, and now they see the opportunity to buy their shares back at the same price they sold them at. So remorseful sellers placing buy orders could make resistance turn into support.
Okay, one more thing here on the Ulta chart that looks a little bit juicy regarding those support levels. Looks like you got a gap fill down there to about 546. We also have the 200-day at 556. So to your point about it catching support, there are actually a couple of levels within a stone's throw of where we're at here this morning where that thing could potentially reverse.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So if we go past where we are now, then maybe the next level I'd watch is there. But regardless, you don't want to, these are potential levels where it could reverse from, right? The levels that have been important in the past. But we don't know if it's going to happen or not. So you want to wait for the reversal to start. That's really
Yeah.
critical. Too many people try to catch the bottom just because it's down. And anything that's down in 90%, everything in history that's been down 90% was down at one point, down 10% or 20%. So you have to wait for the reversal to start and catch it on the way back up.
Okay, let's keep the theme rolling here and take a look at ELF. We'll do this for Wake the Health Up. That is actually a sick handle. By the way, folks, I was encouraging you folks to subscribe to Mark's Substack. We got a QR code in the upper right of the screen there. So if you're interested in any of this banging content that Mark shares with us on a regular basis, please go ahead and scan that, subscribe. We're really appreciative that Mark joins us here. But let's take a look at ELF.
Okay.
ELF.
I'm in Stanford, by the way.
Oh, okay. So that was answering Izzy's question.
Yes.
There you go. Cheers. I was not going to ask you that because that felt a little too personal, but you took care of it yourself. So good stuff.
That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So what do we got here? ELF. Yeah. Now this is another stock where this could be prime for a reversal. Like I said, there's a lot of stocks out there that are just sitting at support like this. Now we can see that this sell-off didn't end here, and that's where we're trading this morning by a random coincidence. People who sold here who regret selling are now trying to buy their shares back over here. So short-term oversold. If this market starts to turn and move higher, well, it is moving higher a little bit, but if the move higher starts to accelerate, this is probably going to jump here too. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff out there at support, as we've seen.
Okay. All right. Let's see if there was another stock in here that we were taking a look at. No, I don't see one here. Can we ask you about Adobe real quick, since they also reported earnings? They're part of that SaaS apocalypse, and they got hit here on a pretty good report.
Although I did want to kind of point this out first.
Sure.
So supposedly this company got hacked by the Iranians yesterday.
Yeah, we had a report from Kathy actually in the chat yesterday morning on top of this.
What's interesting is, despite the news, look at where our low trade was. Right there, which goes right back to pretty much exactly like right there. So
coincidence, that's probably nothing.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, that was some sarcasm layered on top of that.
No, it's just crazy. It just goes to show you, even with news that just seemingly comes out of nowhere, you still got to pay attention to these market principles. All right, Adobe. Now, where are we here? 246. So I guess these guys reported. Yeah, so now look at where they're trading. Same thing, right? Yet another stock that's trading at a support level. So this would be another thing that I would be looking for a potential reversal. See, it's trading like right at this blue line, which is not a coincidence. People who sold here are trying to buy this thing back now. So that's why, at least for now, there's support here.
Okay. So, yeah. One more real quick, if you have the time. This is one we've never looked at before. At least I don't think so. ACM. This is ACOM. It's a Dallas-based engineering company, which I'm actually not familiar with. Engineering services.
Huh. Well, I must have looked at this before at one point because you
I was
can
going to
see the
say,
line.
look at
Now,
this.
yeah, so there's a now it's something like this. I would probably tighten it up, true it up a little bit. But here again, another stock that sold off, found support, but again, we're oversold. Not hugely oversold, but we're oversold. You can see where yesterday's low was right at this support from there. So yeah, here we go. Here's yet another stock that looks like it's at support. So the reoccurring theme, as we can see here, is a lot of stuff is
Indeed.
at support. So that's why I'm saying we could be getting close to some really nice buying opportunities, especially if the market kind of gets washed out, which I don't know if it's going to. It's not today, but if the S&P can break this and get around here, I think there's going to be some really great buying opportunities.
Yeah, I completely concur with you. We'll see what happens.
Not
All right, Mark. Say again. Sorry.
all right, everyone.
All right,
No,
Mark. On
all
your
right.
way out
That's it,
here,
everyone.
enjoy the players and let me know who you like to
Yes.
win it.
Yeah, I was watching yesterday. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. My brother's played out there. And when he's played, of course, the stands aren't full. And he's like,
Yeah,
that that hole with the island hole there is like it's an
17.
easy hole, right? It's a short par three. But when you got 40,000 people looking at you, the greatest golfers in the world put the ball in the water. If there was no crowd there, those guys would probably hit that green 99 out of 100 times.
Yeah, you got that right. You got that right. All right. One day we'll have to play Sawgrass. Mark, thanks for everything here today. Really appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll follow up with you next week. All right.
All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. I'll see you next time.
All right. That is Mark Putrino. Really good stuff from him as per usual. Again, be sure to check out his Substack out there. We threw that QR code up on the screen a little bit ago. So awesome. All right. Before we get to 13 and then really turn it up here on a Friday, I got a couple of street tweets to run through. Let's go ahead and knock that out. All right, these are going to be two tweets somewhat related to each other. The first one here is courtesy of Schwab Trading. Roughly 33% of new retail households joining Schwab are under the age of 30, while 1 in 6 new to firm individual investor clients are under 24. Quote, we've seen younger investors really engage in the market, end quote. That's from Rick Wurster, Charles Schwab CEO. Now, what's interesting is that they're quote tweeting a Bloomberg article here that says the new generation of investor that keeps showing up to buy U.S. equities at every pullback or dip. So I saw this one, looked at the age demographics, thought, boy, that's interesting. Producer, next tweet. And then this morning, I hear a Zero Hedge article that says the Iran war broke the buy the dip and retail investors show, quote, persistent signs of weakness, end quote. So a lot of those newer traders there under the age of 30, accustomed to buying the dip. Do we keep dipping? Do we get a bounce around the 200 like Mark just talked about? Are those buying opportunities going to pay off? Stay tuned, folks. 2026 is going to be a wild year. All right, let's get back down to brass tacks here and let's bring on 13 and start our pre-market pulse. There he is. Good morning, 13. How you doing here today, buddy?
Man, I am ready for the weekend. It's boil time. Let's hang out with some friends and family. Let's have some food. I'm ready to go.
Boy, I'll tell you what. Friends, family, food, and weekend, 13. That sounds like an absolute winning combination. Do me a favor. I think you did this last year. Send me a picture of the spread. I think you had a big piece of paper rolled off across your gorgeous table, and you had all that stuff. Send me a picture of the spread this year, buddy.
I've sent you pictures the last couple of times I did it. I don't think that we've been dumping it on cardboard because we go outside and do it. We don't have a table. We just have our platters. So we use that. But yeah, this is something we've been doing every year. We love it, and it's gonna be fun. Looking forward to it.
I got to get down. I got to get down to 13's neck of the woods in Texas and enjoy some of these awesome things here. Okay, really quickly here, Tiny Pie is trying to throw us a hand grenade. I'll let you try this one. Did you cover this stock?
Telefono kai bolaget.
Well done, actually. I think that's.
I don't know if that's exactly correct, but no, we didn't cover that one.
Okay, there you go. Tiny Pie, I see ya. I hear you clucking, big chicken. All right. Did you want to start with any particular stock, or should we just hammer out the movers?
Hammer out the movers.
Bang, let's do it. Flip over to our movers workspace. Again, as a reminder, the movers tool in Benzinga Pro is your best tool for finding morning gaps, and you can very easily pair it with news and other statistics to get a great idea of how that stock is going to trade. We'll start with the first one here. This is BIAF, Bioaffinities Technology. The stock closed at $1.07 yesterday and is printing 180 here today, and looks like it might also be trying to break those pre-market highs. Bioaffinity Technology shares are trading higher after the company reported fiscal year 25 financial results. Looked like they were good. Let's see what kind of number I have here for you. They also announced record 2025 CyPath lung revenue and unit sales. So looks like they're getting good earnings there and a good update on one of their products. Quick peek at the short interest here. 5% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. On average, the stock trades 500,000 shares. It's done 41.5 million shares here today. Float is 4.4 million. That is right in our wheelhouse for some of these trades that we take. 13, you have any thoughts here on BIAF?
I was watching this one. This is the first one I started looking at, and it's been trying to get above this 180 area ever since I started looking at it. This was back when it was trying to recapture the VWAP following that move down at about 840 this morning. So still trying to get its way through that 180. The company does look like it still needs some cash. This is what I was noticing here with the their income statement. They still haven't turned a profit yet. They don't have a whole lot of revenue, about $1.5 million, but they've got about a little more than a quarter's worth of cash. Now I know that they've got some good sales figures here, but I didn't go through this enough to do all the math and figure out how this is going to change their balance sheet. But for now, this looks like they're still going to need to raise some capital. 4.4 million shares in the float should be easy to move around here, but still having a hard time with that 180 area. If we can't get above that, then I think we test the VWAP here. Again, just don't know if we're going to get that volume. It's not looking like we're getting it because it's been dwindling ever since we had that drop.
Okay. The one thing I will say, we do actually have a fair value gap here on this as well. Now, we did trade into this very briefly on a 5-minute candle back in the morning. So perhaps it's not unmitigated, but I'm still going to keep this on the chart and watch for it, see if we get an opportunity down there. Also, really quick here, Jay Rice, like I said, you are hitting several things that we already hit here today, but this one's a new one. This one's a new one. Ryan and 13. So far, 13 is winning the beard growing contest. So I just want to remind you folks that this is just general weekly for me. Like, by Friday, I've got a little bit of a shadow going on there because I really don't like shaving every single morning. 13 is actually growing a beard, so I almost feel like comparing me to him would be an insult to him. I wonder if I could just wave the white flag right now. 13, my beard's not going to catch up to yours.
Well, unless the Packers don't make it to the playoffs again. That's the reason for beard removal, remember?
Yeah, but that's still a long ways away.
I know.
I mean, that would be December.
I could be quite bushy by then, so we'll see. But Jay also brought up something that we had talked about last night. The omens, Friday the 13th, the SPY closing yesterday at 666. That was funny. I mean, it's something we just talked about yesterday. I don't think there's going to be anything special happening today, but we'll see.
There are a little, Jay. There's a few in there. It is what it is. Salt and pepper's not bad, though. Come on now. All right. Next one here is going to be ELPW. This is Elong Power. I know we've traded this one before, and actually I see a trend line that's literally trying to jump off the screen. intraday on the 5-minute chart here. This stock traded up right towards 650 yesterday. Looks like it topped out at about 641, came back in, had one attempt to move higher here today. That's what's forming our trend line. Yesterday, this happened late. What happened here? This was halted. What did we have here?
They did a reverse split. That's why it's up.
Gotcha. Okay, and that's going to be right in here. Also, the company total issued outstanding shares approximately 63 million. The company authorized shares were proportionately reduced. Okay, perfect. Good stuff there on the catalyst. We'll see how good that catalyst actually is. Quick peek at the short interest on this one. 7.83% of the float short with 1 day to cover. On average, this thing's a ghost town. 186,000 shares is all it does. Today, it's done 6.1 million, float 8 million. What do you think here, ELPW?
Well, I was going through some of the news because I wanted to see if they had done any capital raises because they needed cash, but it looks like they. And this is something that I kind of just looked at it and was like, ooh. So they started doing these capital raises. You can go to the calendar and see the secondary offerings. They did 2 offerings in February, and then they reverse split. So I think this is a real dick move, and I don't like this. I mean, it might provide a trade, but this is something that I just don't like at all. They raised capital by diluting the shares.
Dirty.
It's super dirty. They raised capital by diluting the shares, and then they reverse split. Usually, it's the other way around. So it looks like they've raised capital. It's going to be a little more than 14 million at this stage since last month. I don't know how much they burned through it, but it looks like they've got some capital on the books. So I don't think that they're going to have to dilute soon, but I wouldn't take that off the table because this is just, they've been doing some real scummy stuff lately. And I could see them raising again, just for the heck of it. So be careful with this one. I don't trust it, especially with the actions they've been doing lately. There might be something better to trade, but it is setting up nicely, as you pointed out, with the trend line. And they did do a reverse split, so the share structure is smaller.
And here is the daily chart. I mean, look at this. This is obviously like a serial, can we call it a serial offender on some of those reverse splits? Serial offender, man. Those last 2, 1 for 80 and 1 for 16 reverse on that. Okay, ELPW, careful if you trade it. That's what's going on here. Next is going to be Devs. This is Devs Stream. This stock was a penny stock yesterday, popped above 120. Looks like it topped out at 125. It's coming back in, and in the process of coming back in, we actually kicked away the VWAP there. We did have some news on Tuesday, but nothing fresh since then. This was... XCF Global provides an update on ongoing capital and merger discussions with devs. We haven't had anything since then, popping 25% here today. Quick peek at the short interest on this one, 1.78% of the float short with 1.02 days to cover. On average, it trades 325,000 shares, done 13 plus million today. The float is 3.1 million. 13, do you have anything on this one? And I'll just preface this by saying I am going to stay away from this one here today.
Well, I think that'd be a good decision because I didn't really see any news that's driving here today. But the merger that you were bringing up there, that's with XCF Global, Southern Energy Renewables, and this company. They announced that they had agreed to a binding term sheet for a 3-party merger back at the end of January. That aside, this company's balance sheet looks like crap. The company needs cash, and there's nothing that I genuinely like about this that I've seen. So,
okay.
With taking all that into context, let's look at the chart. We already lost the VWAP. It looks like we're coming back into some other support areas down underneath the dollar. We have the 65 EMA that's at 91, 92 cents. This looks like we're just going to come right back in. Now, maybe after we find a bottom, it gets picked up and traded some more throughout the morning or afternoon. But for now, it looks like this thing is wanting to head lower.
Okay, 13 doesn't like it.
Nope.
All right. Good stuff there. All right, next here, this indeed, I see Daniel mentioning this.
Real quick, yes, yeah. Tom. Devs does have something to do with airline fuel. I can expand on that in just a little bit, but sorry, going with PayPal.
Yep, that's okay. Daniel, or dare I say, Daniel-san. Daniel here saying new IPO PAP, which is PAP. PAYP is the ticker. PayPay is the name of the company. This was a new IPO yesterday. This popped here in the pre-market. Boy, a lot of volatility here today. Looks like the range in the pre-market here, 27 back down to 20, bouncing again. Can't get above the VWAP. New IPO here. I don't really know what to necessarily think about this here. It's post IPO volatility. We'll see. I will probably stay away from this one, Danielle.
This one we talked about yesterday, and I think it could be good, but it did just IPO, so I'm not touching it just yet. I want to see there be some definitive, more definitive bottom. But it looks like it could be an interesting company. So it's something I do want to try and trade, just not at the moment. And then real quick regarding devs and something to do with aviation fuel. That merger actually is going to be for renewable hydrocarbons, biomass to jet fuel program. So that merger is what you're referring to there, Tom. That is what they have to do with airline fuel, taking biomass and creating renewable hydrocarbons with it. So,
okay, good stuff there. All right, do you have anything on PAYP?
Just what I mentioned. New issue. It seems like it's kind of a mix of several companies we have out here, like PayPal and I want to dare I say Robinhood a little bit, kind of combined, but it's for it's a Japanese platform, and I don't know if that's a completely accurate description of it either, but it just kind of reads that way to me. So it's a financial platform of obviously it's PayPay, and it's based in Japan. I'm just going to wait and see what it does, but it looks interesting.
Okay. Awesome. Next one here on the list is going to be EDHL. This is Eventbrite Digital Holdings. This popped above 7, retraced 90% of the move, holding steady down here just south of 4 at 395. I don't see any news on this. Last piece of news that I have in here was from February 5th, so maybe just trading action. Quick peek at the short interest, 5.86% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. On average, stock trades 104,000 shares per day. It's done 3.8 million here today. The float on this one, micro float though, 541,000 shares in the float. So maybe we get some fireworks.
That float reading is because they did a 1-for-16 reverse split back in the beginning of February. This company is going through NASDAQ recompliance. They started, it's been going on for a while. They started getting non-compliance letters back in August. I don't see that they've resolved it, and this reverse split is part of the path to resolving it. So I would expect that next. Before I jump to conclusions, let's look at their cash position. I think it's going to be a capital raise coming next. That's what it seems like would happen. That's just part of the motions you see these companies that have these compliance issues. They don't have enough money, or their minimum bid price is deficient. So they reverse split to bring it back up above $1, and then they raise capital in order to meet the capital threshold requirement. So I think that's what we're seeing here. It's just going through those motions. They just did the reverse split. Next up should be the capital raise. I just couldn't tell you when that's happening.
Okay.
Now, real quick, didn't Eventbrite? Isn't that? I want to say that is a. Oh, it's Everbright. I thought this was Event.
Oh, you know what? I did say Event. I'm sorry. That's totally my fault. Totally.
Okay.
And you know what? 13, we've actually used the Eventbrite app here.
Right.
And I just looked at it. I read it wrong. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just want to clarify because
that's a bad screw up.
I know about Eventbrite, and I was like, really? This is trading that badly? But yes, it's Everbright. This is Everbright. This is not the ticket sales company.
Damn it.
It's okay. You're good.
I don't like it. I don't like making mistakes. I make many of them. I don't like it.
But you corrected it, so we can move on.
That's true. All right. Next one here is going to be PRZO. This is ParaZero Technologies. The stock popped up towards 150, has come back in. It's actually beneath its VWAP right now. Let's see what happened here. ParaZero Technologies secures a new purchase order from Israeli defense entity for its Defend Air Counter Unmanned Aerial System solution. This is a timely PR. Now, I don't know if there's anything in here numbers-wise. No. So this is just going to trade on vibes here today just because of what's going on. So I would think that this is a good catalyst for trading. What this actually means for the company long term, can't really say at this time, but this might be in play here today. Quick peek at the short interest, 7.55% of the float shorted, 2.04 days to cover. The average volume for Para Zero is 1.35 million shares. It's done 8.5 million here today, and the float is 21.5 million. 13, what do you think here on PRZO? Let me actually check and see if I have yeah, indeed. So we do have this. Very, very interesting. We do actually have a fair value gap here that got tapped a little bit. So we'll see if this holds up. 13, I'm going to step away here. Take a look at PRZO.
So here we have what may end up being one of the drone plays that just hasn't been picked up yet. Now, I know it's not specifically a drone play. I think there's, it's more of a components for drones. So, but we've seen some other names that are components for drones just take off. So it's interesting that this one hasn't gotten there quite yet. That order, though, that's certainly going to help us along. Maybe that we start to see this get thrown into that fold. The unfortunate thing is that I don't think that I really like how much cash this company is burning. They don't have a whole lot left on their balance sheet, so there could be some kind of capital raise coming. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, because you start getting orders that it makes the prospect of raising money a little less likely. Although this company and a lot of other companies that are already in the drone space that have been doing well have been raising cash to further their production and their expansion. So if they do it, then I would understand if it's for that same reason. But either way, they're going to need it. Now, we are trading beneath VWAP here, but as Ryan pointed out, we did tap the fair value gap, and we got support from that. We are trying to get back up to VWAP now, which if we do recapture it, I think that could potentially lead to some more upside. We do have a high this pre-market here with 149. That probably going to end up being a bit of a resistance area. Let's look and see what we've got here on the daily chart. Sure enough, 150 is a big resistance area, but that also does take us beyond the 200-day SMA. So if we can get back above 136, which is where the 200-day SMA is, that's interestingly right about where the VWAP is. So VWAP here on this 5-minute chart, that's where the 200-day SMA is, and I think that's the big level we need to recapture if we're going to go beyond 150. 150 also a big resistance area.
Okay, really good stuff there. PRZO. All right, did you have anything else on this? Do we want to take a look at KIDZ, class over holdings? Feel like we've looked at this one before. This has just consistently been one of the disappointing stocks.
I mean, I don't have a problem looking at it, but it doesn't look like it's very good. It might have a better move later on in the morning or after we open, but right now it's not looking great. I don't even know what the news is. We can look at this one or whatever one you all want to look at.
Okay, well, let's just do this here real quick. Then we'll do ticker time for the rest here. Okay. The news on this: class over signs an MOU with Wally Maker to expand AI and robotics education program in North American K-12 market. I'll say this. Just reading the headline on the surface, I think that this is good. I'm just not sure how great it's going to be. Now, also looking at this, it appears that we had some insider buying recently when the stock was 23 cents.
Well, that was it 23 cents? Because I see that they announced a reverse split, a 1-for-50 reverse split, and then the insider buying started. Did we get that reverse split and then the insider started buying, or?
I mean, per the SEC form, it said that they were acquired at $20.232.
Yeah, I see that. There's also one at 22 cents, 25 cents before this announcement of the split. I guess I kind of scratching my head as why somebody who's a chairman and director would be loading up before a split. I mean, I guess they just expect that it's going to go. It's just going to outperform. I don't know. It doesn't look like that. I mean, maybe they were selling earlier this morning, and that's why it's down off the 380 area. I don't know. I'm only speculating here with this one. Did they even do that reverse split? Let me look. Yeah.
March 10th, effective March 10th.
They did. So, And then he's still buying through. See, I guess that's kind of where I'm scratching my head, because it says that, oh, but you know what, that purchase could have happened before the split.
Yeah, that's
okay. So I guess that's all he was doing, is just buying, and then they reverse split. I don't know what to make of that, to be honest. But it's
okay. Let me just sum this up a little bit easier. That's a good job slogging through the news there. Be careful with this one.
Yeah, it's got 380,000 shares in the float. It's going to whip around.
Yeah, indeed. Okay. We can go to the main chart here. I'm pretty sure Jay Harris wants Broadcom levels because the sun came up today. So we can go ahead and take a look at that here real quick.
And I love the comment that he said just now. The market has been tough to swing. Oh, we know. That's something we talk about a lot, is how difficult it has been to swing, and that the really good plays have been just day trading or very long-term horizons, long-term prospects, long-term plays. Swinging has not been great.
No, it hasn't. True. And if you're swinging options and you're watching that premium, you just swing back and forth wildly. Not easy. Not the best here. Okay, here's Broadcom. We're doing a good job staying above the 200-day, and I think we're also above the 50-day, right? Yes, indeed. 50-day at 333. 38. We're at 338 right now. So we're holding above some of these moving averages. We ran into some resistance at the 100. That would be the next area that I want to pop above. Jay Harris continues to ask about a stock that is trading sideways since December.
I think that when it comes to Broadcom and some of these other semi names, I think that I'm just exercising some patience. I think we're going to get.
I think that's the smart move.
I think we're going to get some bigger news coming out later on this year. There's been some articles I've been seeing popping up with some of the really big players. I think it was Morgan Stanley that was saying that there's going to be a really large advancement in AI this year. So we'll see. I like the news. They're shipping these new Tomahawk 6 networking chips, and Broadcom is one of the names that is really doing a lot of work on the TPUs and custom chips. And I think that's where I'd like to be. And I am. I'm still in Broadcom. But as far as the chart goes, I think it's just a matter of when is this we're gonna see this move away from the 50-day SMA, because we did recapture it earlier this week, and I think we're just waiting to rebound off the 50-day SMA, because that was originally a resistance area for quite a while, since December, and only recently have we been starting to trade above it. So the next thing I would love to see, and I think we may end up getting it, is a move up and away from this 50-day SMA and try to get back over 360. That's been a tough area since December to get up to. But I like the fact that we're trading above the 50-day SMA. I think that bodes well for more upside here. So I would say probably not too much longer. We'll see an attempt to move back up towards 360.
Okay, Lion saying 350 is your resistance, 325 is your support. That basically is the 200 on the downside and the top end of the range on the upside. Okay, good stuff there. And then
I like that 350 area too.
Yeah, me too. A good mention here from Alpha Trades, that PAYP that I just cannot get the ticker out correctly here. It could make a big move again today. Remember, it's got some SoftBank and Kathy backing. This is a good mention, Alpha Trade. Good morning too.
Yeah, I think he's right about that. I don't know what that's going to look like out of the gate here, but if this starts to go under 20, I think that might be interesting here. So I'm going to keep an eye on that.
Okay. All right. Anything else? We get 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes here. Anything else that you want to take? You know what, Lion, you were pounding the table on Micron earlier. I guess I could just do that here real quick. Here's your Micron chart. We're at 414 here this morning. It's up 2%. And this is actually above the 20-day. We're also now above this trend line that we have drawn and just kind of extended out. Actually, it looks like, did we back test it a little bit? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Maybe we go higher here on Micron. What do you think, 13?
Looks like since we so we broke through that trend line that I had from a long time ago, and we back tested it twice. So I think that could end up being a double bottom here, and we end up seeing a W-shaped recovery. So what we need to see happen next, since we're now back over the 20-day SMA, we need to see 440 and that get taken out. I think 440 is the next big spot. So if we move beyond that, then that double bottom and W-shaped recovery is taking effect here. We should see some new highs, but I think that's the spot, 440.
Okay.
What do you think, Lion? I know that you like these. You like some levels too. Is 440 standing out to you as it is to me?
Okay, while he's answering you, I'll take a quick look at ACXP here. That is Acurex Pharmaceuticals. They reported earnings here today. Looks like they had a pop up towards 7 and then a reversal. It's being caught by the 200 EMA. The conference call has concluded. The earnings are in the books. It recorded an EPS, a loss of 73 cents, but that beat the loss estimate of 165. So stock is down 15% after initially trading higher here. I would be careful about this one and wait this one out. I would turn to Kathy. Kathy, are you aware of the pipeline or anything here? I don't follow ACXP at all.
Yeah,
but this is.
I'm kind of wondering, like, did some folks know about what's going on with this? Because there's been a run up into the earnings print, and now we're selling off.
Okay, we are open.
All right, sorry. ELPW, keeping an eye on that one. That one's trying to. It was rising into the open here, trying to get through that trend line. Be careful with this one. Dev's also trying to come back up towards its VWAP. Oh, I'm sorry, I said it in my chart update. We did get a rejection from the VWAP. One thing, I didn't mention this, but here we are, because Ryan, we were talking about how that Trump-Xi meeting could, if that gets canceled or delayed, I don't think it's going to be canceled, but if it gets delayed, that could put some of those critical minerals trades back on. Look at CRML right now. CRML is up. I think USAR might also be up. It is. It's up 2 3/4. The thought here is that if that there's been reports that Beijing is very unhappy with the progress that's being made for preparations for the Trump-Xi meeting, and they're frustrated because they want time to prepare for what's going to be discussed, and the White House isn't providing that time to discuss, or to point out to cover the topics. Because there's been such volatility in what's been happening with the geopolitics lately. So if they end up canceling or if they end up delaying that could be viewed negatively by the market, but I think it puts the critical minerals trades back on.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there. I am seeing some NVIDIA calls out of the gate here. I know it's early. Oops, that actually seeing some Micron puts there. Here's NVIDIA, 186 coming here on NVDA. And as mentioned, a bunch of call sweeps here. These are the expiry for today. So it looks like this is a short-term trade to the upside.
All right.
PRZO, this is going to re-enter the fair value gap. I'm going to be a little bit patient with this one because technically we did already trade into this gap. We barely traded into it, so it's possible it still kind of finds some support there. Here's what I got on it, though, right here. Okay, we are entering that here in a sec again. We'll see if we get a bounce. I'm going to follow Mark's lead here and wait for it to confirm a rebound before trying it.
That's a great.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's a great mention by Jay Rice. Be careful chasing fertilizer names. It's a crowded trade. Everyone on X is talking about it.
Okay, good stuff. There you go. That's the contrarian notion that we were kind of talking about earlier. All right. Market here right out of the gate, it popped a little bit, but it's coming back in a little bit. I think that waiting out the opening print here is probably a good move. And we'll see if we get any trade setups here.
Some names that we were looking at yesterday, having a good day. BM&R, Orbs popped back up. Those were, both kind of trading in tandem because they had, BM&R was investing in Orbs yesterday, or they had made an announcement yesterday. We also have AMSC, one of the names I've been keeping an eye on. That popped up. ONDS, that popped up to 1085. That went right up to the highs from yesterday.
Indeed. Right. And also, by the way, looking at Bitcoin here, Bitcoin, our risk on indicator, 73,500 right now. That is actually up 4% on the day. So Bitcoin flashing a risk on here today. SPY curling back up a little bit as we speak. LWLG, this is one from yesterday, was it not? Lightwave. Yep.
I believe it's it was.
Can't get really much above that 750 area. We'll see if that gets taken out here today.
Seeing that FRMI, one of the names that I've been keeping an eye on here for the data center hyperscaler build outs, because this one isn't supposed to have revenue for another 10 months or so, but it's been getting a move here today, coming up to some consolidation from yesterday's pre-market and the day before's after hours. Not sure what the news is here that's causing it to move. Okay, here we go. They filed additional 5 gigawatt clean air permit partnership with Texas University. I guess that's what it's moving on. Upsizing campus projections. Okay, so it's just it's in a prospect of expansion here. Okay. All right. That's what the news is that's causing it to move. Let's go back to some of these other movers, see what they're doing. Finding some support from that fair value area.
Here's PRZO. Now, this did kind of tap the top end of it, but again, I wanted to be a little bit more conservative here. We've bounced, but we have not even come back to VWAP. We'll see if PRZO sets up here.
ELPW up to that trend line that you talked about.
HIMX, HIMX. This is actually getting a pop out of the open. Here's your ELPW chart that you were just mentioning, 13.
Pay. That's looking like we're about to lose or we are losing the 200 EMA. We still have over 4 minutes left in this candle, so we'll see what it ends up doing. But looks like we could get some support down around 1850 if it ends up falling that far. That's where we had a lot of sideways consolidation in the after hours yesterday.
Okay, and PRZO, that bounce there, very, very short, not trustable, and good thing because we have turned back around here. It's actually at the 15 EMA. And I agree here. Time your entries. It's Friday and the volume is not that strong. And you know what? Nope. Next week, we're actually kind of expecting that too, right? Doesn't the tournament start next week? Yeah.
Yeah, and we have the FOMC meeting.
That's right.
So it's going to be several things happening. BIAF, new session highs. I don't know if this is going to last, given how quickly things have been, taking profits and turning around. But we got a bit of a trend line here that we're about to hit. Waiting to see if we end up going past that or getting rejected by it. We're at it right now. So we'll see if it rejects here or if we push through it. Some sellers in the way, lots of sellers going up into the 230s. Not sure that we'll get up there with the way this volume is looking. Need to continue to see it expand.
Okay, here's your trend line on BIAF.
Yeah, I get the sense that that's what's been happening lately, Lion. We haven't really seen a whole lot of an appetite to hold through the weekends lately. So I don't think it's a bad idea to go into the weekend with a lot less leverage.
No, and I would say, a lot that depends a lot on your disposition too. If you have a whole bunch of fear and worry about everything that's going on, loading up on positions over the weekend where you can't close them, probably not the best choice you can make in that scenario. Micron, by the way, saw some call flow here on Micron out of the gate. That is moving higher still out of the open.
BIAF moving through the trend line just slowly. So it's going to need some more volume, but it's getting its way through there. We still have over 2 minutes left on this candle, and I get the sense that we could. Okay, here's a seller walking it down. I was going to say I get the sense we could fall back beneath it with how much time we have left, and then we got a seller that was walking it down, but looks like he went away for now. Just be careful is all I'm saying with BIAF and everything that we're trading here today. I mean, look at ELPW. We hit that trend line and we absolutely knifed.
Right up to it and right down from it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, S&P futures trying to trade up here. We're holding higher by 0.57%. The SPY looks like it's actually wicking up to the 670.30 level. So we'll see if it can meaningfully hold above 670 here. Ondas is higher here today. We'll take that.
Yeah, it's trying to get through the highs from yesterday, holding above VWAP for the moment.
VIX also down 6.7% here. It's at 25.46. It reached 28 in the after hours.
Lions doing April calls 450. BIAF still trying to stay above that trend line. Now, if we
More
close
upside
above
here on the SPY. I'm sorry, 13.
if we do close above the trend line here on BIF with this candle, then we're going to want to see that act as support. But we still have a little more than 30 seconds left to see what it does. Devs making its way through VWAP. LPW still selling off, looking that's getting walked down. Looks like we might find some support around the 65 EMA for the moment. PayPay went underneath 20, trying to pull itself back above it, but not liking the way the volume looks at the moment.
Sentinel One did a red to green here. Now they reported earnings here this morning, sold off towards what 1250 here, but just barely going red to green.
That guide, their EPS guide looks okay, but their sales guide missed the mark.
Yep. Needham also lowered its price target to 18 from 21 this morning. SPY USO is indeed the correlation, Jay, and you've been on that for a while. Kudos to you. Bitcoin looks like at 73,580 was the top spot there. It's still holding up, but it's pulled back off that spot. So we'll see if that sets a new high.
Yeah, I think I really need to do some more diligent work on infrastructure plays, especially the electrical side. I know that a lot of those have run, so it's going to be hard to see where's the good ones to get now, but I think that's going to be something that we see a lot of talk and a lot of movement into is the infrastructure build out of the U.S. and energy, electrical energy. We're moving through the highs from yesterday in ONDS.
Good.
Big seller on the way at 11.
Let's recapture.
Yeah.
Let's recapture. And let me zoom out here a little bit. Remember, this is the, let me flip this back to auto. Keep zooming out here. Remember, this is, if I go back to the daily chart, this is what we drew yesterday in terms of this uptrend. And we had said yesterday that we really wanted to hold the bottom end of this. And indeed, so far, that's what we're getting. So we want that to continue, obviously. SPY more now. More highs here.
So we did get a close above the trend line in BIAF. This current candle, we were dipping beneath it, but we're still holding above it. We still have 2 minutes, 50 seconds left to see what this candle does, but it's trying to push higher, or at the very least, hold above the trend line.
Okay, good deal on BIAF. SPY at the highs of the day actually is about to take out the pre-market high. That value up here, 671 and change.
Look at that move in ONDS. It went up to 1097, found that seller in the way and said, oh, I guess I'll turn around and see my way out. So seller at the 11 in ONDS, pretty tough spot right there. There's also some large shares to be large amount of shares to be sold at 1095.
Dara, so far, it's early, but so far in the green here today, no new day trades here today. And by the way, Dara, you had this comment earlier. I'm Irish, and I think you just insulted my mother. Certainly nobody insulted your mother. It is worth noting I am half Irish. And I was also born on St. Patrick's Day, so I think that accounts for some percentage as well.
Okay.
Devs getting mentioned here. Did I click on the wrong stock? DevStream. No, here we go.
Yeah, we're back up to the pre-market highs. 125 was the high. I still see a lot of sellers in the way at 125 and 135. Going to need to see an expansion of volume to get through all that.
Brian, March is a great month, and March 28th for you. Remember, especially in March, birthdays are not days. They are month-long celebrations.
All right, BIF, what we wanted to see here with the trend line has happened. We were trying to deal with this current seller right now that is getting eaten up, and looks like he's gone now. So what happened here? We moved through that trend line. The very next candle, we started back testing it. as support. We got it, and now we're moving. We moved higher to 240, but there still is a seller trying to push this back down. He pops up on my price ladder every several seconds, and then you see it, the price getting locked down. Don't think that's going to last with this volume. He might be gone pretty soon, but we'll
BIAF big pop through that trend line here now.
Yep.
Slancha, Dara.
Debs coming up to 125.
SPY new highs above the pre-market high.
ONDS pulling off that 1097 area.
Longeveron being mentioned here by Supric. This was one we talked about a little bit earlier. It looks like this is trying to flirt with dollar territory here today.
My electrical grid watch list is looking mostly green here today. Let's see, the ones that are moving the most that I can see are going to be AMSC, APH, MYRG, and Powell, POWL. You know Powell. I call that one the thing between the thing. Powell Industries makes these electrical components that are that are used to go from like power generation to the main grid. So like you have GEVs, natural gas turbines, and then you have the entire grid that they are meant to connect to. Powell makes the components that you connect A to B, so that you have the power going to the grid. So important company.
Tiny Pie says, "Are you even Irish if you haven't got a bet on the Cheltenham Gold Cup?" I don't bet the ponies at all, so I guess that's a faux pas on my part. SPY new highs now, as that is continuing to push. I know he's not here, but a big time shout out to SB Trader from our happy hour crew who called this literally yesterday in the happy hour session. We'll take it.
Sentinel One coming up to that you just mentioned, coming up to some consolidation here. Looks like 1420 might be a tough spot for it. We'll see what they can do with that. What levels are we seeing on devs? Go back to that. There it is. Well, we were just talking a moment ago about how we were hitting some of the pre-market highs. Looks like we got that slightly higher, and now we're retreating a bit. There is some. This area had some sellers. There are some sellers still hanging out between 125 and 130. There's also a very large order at 135 that is going to need a lot of volume to get through. So here we are. We're coming back in a little bit. We're going to want to see support at VWAP if we are looking for this to go higher. I have that at 113. So need to see a hold above that 110 to 113 area.
Okay. Really good stuff there. Really, really good stuff there. Seeing some Tesla call sweeps. These are all for today. This is short-term trading. Tesla had a move down to support. This was not only from the pre-market, but also from the intraday level yesterday, and then a bounce. So it looks like folks are just trading Tesla to the upside on the short term. CDXS, this is one of the movers from yesterday. This is curling back up after a kind of a disappointing day yesterday. Basically spiked out of the open, and then this thing was a ghost town the rest of the day, getting another spike here early. I did find some resistance at 672. See if that has some more strength.
Dara, where does hurling land on the tourist attraction? Because that looks like that looked awesome to me.
Have you guys ever seen that video about the leprechaun in Mobile, Alabama? That is one of the funniest YouTube videos I think I've ever seen. Probably not safe for work, so go Google it on your own time. But if you want some laughs, check that out.
You're piquing my interest. I'll look at it later.
Yeah, I thought for sure you were going to meet that comment with laughter and then have some story about it. But I'm excited for you to check that out. Market Sniper. Okay, good stuff. At least I'm not the. At least I'm not a weirdo by myself.
SB Trader. Really appreciating you mentioning him. He's having a good day.
Great. I when our community has good days, that empowers me and makes me feel happier too. So that's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. We got such a good group too in the happy hour. It's just I'm really impressed that an experiment from the COVID era has turned into one of the best idea generations and information repositories, if you will, that I've ever been a part of. So proud papa on that one. Yeah.
Dara, I'm not talking about tourists playing. I'm talking about tourists going and watching. I mean, look up hurling when you have a time. I mean, I already know what it is, but that's a tough looking sport.
Really quickly, IMMP, which I know we've talked about before on this, they had really bad data come out. Data Monitoring Committee recommends ending a phase 3 trial following a planned futility analysis. So it is discontinued here. Baird went down to neutral, lowered the price target to 1. The stock is down 82%. Be very careful if you're trying to play this. Maybe it bounces a little bit here today, but folks, just be careful on this one.
That's awful. So the Data Monitoring Committee recommends ending phase 3 trial. You get that far along into
and it's
clinical trial,
futile. Yeah, that's no bueno.
It's so much money lost, and gosh, this is such bad news. I don't even know if I'd want to touch this until I get an idea of what happens next with this company. Discontinued falling futility analysis. Every time I see this company, I keep thinking back to the mummy. The name of the mummy, Imhotep.
Oh, Imhotep.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Imhotep. So that's actually part of the old Egyptian kings.
Right.
Imhotep, actually an Egyptian ruler. But the movie The Mummy, that's the Brendan Fraser movie, right? I'm not as familiar with that, interestingly enough. So, okay.
Oh, don't worry. They'll have a new one coming out later. I think probably next year. They're working on another one with Brendan Fraser and what's her name? I can't believe I forgot her name. Rachel Weisz.
Oh, perfect. So they're just kind of rehashing more stuff in Hollywood. Surprise.
Well, it's another sequel because they can't think of new stuff anymore.
Yeah, my producer here with an exceptional quote. Everything eventually gets a reboot, man. Classics can't stay classics. Yep. Dude, that is like brilliant, producer. That is, I'm going to reuse that. That's so good. All right, BIF, you said higher. Now that was pulling back. Did that get back to the trend line? No. So it pulled back, not quite to the trend line, but now it looks like some new highs here.
Yep. Now I'll say this: if we can't get much higher, and we put in another wick like we did with the last 2 candles, I think that could be a sign that we're probably going to come in and test the trend line, if not there, maybe even the VWAP. So watch out for a series of upper shadows here, which we might end up getting.
Okay. Suprick wants to take a look at AIFF, which we've traded a few times here on this program. Here's your AIFF, by the way.
Oh, yeah, it looks like it's trying to get past some of these lower 2 numbers. Let me look at it. Look at the chart here. Okay, so we're trying to get past the 200-day SMA. We've been trying to do that for the past several days, all week it looks like. If you go to a daily chart, we started this month with a big move up through some of the smaller moving averages, the 20 and the 50. We have a silver cross that occurred earlier this week, and we are trying to get through the 200-day SMA, which I have the value of 210 for that moving average. You need to see it close above that.
Okay, SPY bouncing here. It's actually recapturing the 9 EMA, so it looks like a quick bounce there. We'll see if that gets some more carry through here. If you want a new idea, read an old book. That's a great quote from Ivan Pavlov.
That's where a lot of these movies are being made from now. Is just best sellers and classic books. I mean, Hollywood writers are just out of ideas. I mean, Arden Stellar, you're right. The movies are terrible these days. I don't think there's. I watched a movie last night that was it was entertaining. I enjoyed it. It was the Jason Momoa and Batista team up. It's called The Wrecking Crew. I love Hawaii, so it was fun to watch. I enjoyed it way more than War Machine. I thought that movie was terrible.
Yeah, and this is another good question here from the producer 13. I think we've talked about this before. I'll just toss this over to the group. When do you think we're going to see the first fully produced movie using AI? When do you think that will come out?
Oh gosh, I don't think it's going to be too far in the future.
I would tend to agree with you.
You know how? If you recall, Disney acquired Sora AI.
Yep.
And I think that was your first hint that they may be coming out with something that's completely AI generated. But I don't know. I don't think it's unlikely, I think, to be something that comes out this year. But I don't think I would be making that same bet for any year after this.
Iron here, nice continuation thinking about it. This was a really sweet reversal yesterday at 39. Here we are testing 44. Excuse me. By the way, SPY bounced pretty nicely here, but is unable to take out 672. I would actually want this to take out the recent highs here. It did not get filled. I was a little too conservative on my first attempt at a SPY trade there. And on a Friday, given everything that's going on, not going to chase any of these things. If I miss it, I miss it. That's no big deal. No big deal.
Yeah, that Cruz versus Pitt AI generated rooftop fight scene was really something to behold. And then Justin Grohl says, I read a lot of books. I read a lot, and there's an awful lot of really good books out there I would love to see made into a movie. Fortunately, we do have one starring Ryan Gosling that's coming out later this month called Project Hail Mary from a 2021 book.
Yep.
That has been getting some really good reviews.
I will say the trailer for that does have me interested.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't say that very often about any new movies, but that one, not enough to bring me to the theater.
Well,
fortunately, interesting.
Fortunately, if you're a Prime member, you won't have to, because Prime members get early access to the movie on the 16th.
Well, how about that? You mean in 3 days, I'm going to have early access to that on my Prime?
Yeah.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah. Okay. See, there we go. Perfect. Market Cognoscente is that? Did I pronounce that right? But yeah, it looks like a great. It looks like it was written really well. I'm hearing a lot of positive things about it. I'm looking forward to it. Project been there, done that.
Project J with another good call here, saying, "Do not chase the fertilizer names here today as they pound lods."
Yep. Looks like this could even still move down and fill the gap all the way to 120.
Does anyone else watch The Fugitive around St. Patrick's Day like I do? I can't help it, man. It's set in Chicago. They dye the river green. There's the great chase scene through the parade. And then you have one of the cops saying, he said lad. It's just, I don't know. It's that's a childhood favorite there. All right, SPY bounce. Could not recapture 672. Now we're trading back down. We'll see if this thing catches at VWAP. I think I've got the VWAP here right about 670. So 670 might be the next support area if it holds there, if we keep coming in. Tiny Pie. Tiny Pie had one of the most, I like half-heartedly said something that was from The Fugitive, and Tiny Pie sends me a message. He's like, that was a Fugitive reference. I'm like, that was a really good spot. I'll take that all day.
BIAF printing higher still, running into some resistance here at 250. This is the only one I've actually taken a trade in today. I don't have a position right now, but I don't know how much more we're going to extend here. Let's see what happens with this seller at 250.
Tiny Pie, why didn't you just say weird? Guys, I don't like you guys using words that have no meaning around me, okay?
Inky?
I'm taking the stairs.
That reminds me of, I don't think this is considered to be one of the more Irish movies like you would consider Boondock Saints or, even Fugitive, but Snatch.
You like Dags? Like Dags?
Yes, that was one of the greatest scenes ever from Brad Pitt, was just him being a gypsy. Oh my gosh. Mama.
I promised everyone. I promised everyone that we were going to have fun today. We don't let you down. By the way, regarding the fair value gap trade, so this is interesting on PRZO. First of all, the stock has nothing but short-term weakness. The gap did get tested early in the pre-market, and it appears as if it got tested again. But one of the things that I would draw your attention to is that I actually think that because this gap was no longer unmitigated, we actually started testing some of the moving averages, We have a series of lower highs on the bounces. This, to me, never really confirmed that it was going to bounce by taking out one of the higher levels there on the candle. This is still a wait. Maybe we get a bounce from that 65 EMA. I just hope that some of the warnings proved true here on PRZO. Hopefully, no one actually got hurt by this one here today.
Yeah, Mike, the PayPay, it did go underneath 20, recaptured it, and now we're looking towards 21. Here's the thing, Ryan, maybe you can do this too. Draw a trend line from the highs of the pre-market through that area at about 9 a.m. where we kind of curled over. And yeah, there you go. We're trying to get through this trend line right now, which interestingly is also where the VWAP is. So I'm watching to see if we're going to get through this area or if we're going to get rejected. I'm not sure which we're going to get yet with this volume. Just something to keep an eye on. If we get rejected and start going underneath 20 here, I really would love to see this come down into the 18 handle, like around 1830 to 1850. That's where we had some consolidation from the after hours. I'd love to see us get support there if we get rejected here.
Okay, good stuff there. Whis, no, I do not remember Luck of the Irish. I mean, I remember the phrase, but if you're referring to like a movie or something like that or something specific, I apologize. I do not remember that. And Trey, that's really good stuff. Really good stuff. Trey, I'll be honest with you, you fit in very well here. I hope to keep seeing you around here, whether it's stocks or some of the funny stuff that we rabbit hole into. Really good. Love it.
BIAF.
I want to see everyone here, just to be clear, just shouting it out.
BIF running into some trouble here at 250. It's been kind of trying to get through this area for the past 15 or so minutes. If we cannot recapture or if we cannot capture 250 by, I would say, this candle or the next, I think we come back in to test the trend line, maybe even VWAP.
Okay. Let's see what we end up getting. SPY is trying to bounce here. We'll see if we get any more there on SPY. PRZO still kind of hanging around in that gap, but really not showing us much of anything interesting here. Still seeing some NVIDIA calls get swept up. Remember, these are the calls for today. This is very clearly a short-term trade.
ELPW, this piece of crap came down to the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. It's getting some support there. Maybe this gets picked up and it turns around for a quick trade up to the 65 EMA or maybe even the VWAP, but just be careful. The volume is not looking great on this one.
Okay, yeah, and I'll tell you what, that trend line looks like a big time rejection area.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
NEO wasn't several folks were asking about NEO earlier this week. NEO actually above yesterday's intraday highs. Interestingly, sorry, 13.
I think because it had news earlier this week as well. I don't remember if it was earnings or some kind of other deal, but they had news this week. I just don't remember what it was.
I think they had earnings, right?
Was it earnings? I think it might have been. I just don't remember.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Tuesday morning they reported earnings, and it was a beat on the top and the bottom line, and it was a guide, I believe, higher. Yeah, Q1 sales guide higher there. Absolutely.
There you go. Just looking around here, still okay. So a lot of sideways action in some of these names.
Yeah, indeed.
PRZO, we are.
Yeah, Dr. Manred, I appreciate this context here. That was the earnings with the first positive income on NEO. So that was a big one. That was a big one.
Can they repeat it? We I should have mentioned earlier too. BIAF now are 100% runner of the day.
Ah, okay. BIAF.
Real quick, Roma before this thing on the halts. I don't know what's going on here, but this thing absolutely dropped out of the gate, found some support, and now it's ripping to the upside. We're at the 65 EMA, halted. So somebody
this thing was a halt fest yesterday too.
Yeah. So somebody likes their tomatoes. Let me see what this what's happening here today that's giving us this price action. I don't see
but I don't think it's actually tomatoes.
Yeah.
I know. No.
Yeah. No, so I don't see any news about what's going on here. This price action we've been seeing here from about $5.65 to about $6. That's the consolidation that probably going to end up providing us some resistance here once we unhalt. Don't know what we're going to see here, but I got all kinds of levels of the upside and downside. If we manage to get through 6, I have 625 next, followed by 675.
Okay.
So just we'll see what happens when we unhalt.
Okay, SPY coughed up the VWAP. Captain Cloudy loaded puts. That was a good move. Way to go on being patient on that, by the way, especially for your entry. Not in that with you, but I like that. I like what you did there.
Billy mentioning WDC, some room on a daily. And then Dream Chaser also wants us to check out EONR.
EONR. I can bring that up right now.
See what's going on with WDC real fast here. So this is up 6% almost. Still trying to climb higher. Not liking the way these upper shadows are looking here. We'll see what happens in the next couple 5 or 10 minutes. But it looks like this is starting to stretch a little bit here where it's having trouble going higher. That's WDC. So we'll see what happens with that. EONR. This thing has been on a bit of a run for this month. Since the month started, it's been just going up, up, and up. We are coming up towards, I think, some resistance around 160, maybe 150, 160 could be a resistance area. What's the news today? Nothing. Nothing is in the news feed for this one.
Oh, moving on, no news.
It's in the oil and gas play, but it's kind of coming down a little bit here. So trading with a lot of the other names.
DKNG, this is DraftKings. We affectionately call it Donkey Kong. This traded up a little bit, but on very low volume. I don't actually see a trade here. I was just checking it out. SPY, that loss of the VWAP resulted in a quick recapture. But I'll be honest with you, I think we need to see 671 before we feel pretty good about new highs. Maybe not even new highs, but a move up.
Oh, Zach, you like that? This is one I've been trading a lot of this week. AMPX, really good movement here. We've been consolidating for the past few days. I still think we could go higher into the 20s, but we may end up giving some of this back first. So not sure about the next direction at the moment. We are pretty extended to the upside here on the daily chart. I would like to see this cool off a bit, and then once that happens, perhaps we get the next move up that takes us into the 20s. But I think the 20s is where we're headed with this. PRZO, continuing its weakness here. So getting more of a feel for some of these gaps here and what makes one better than the other. Again, we had talked about maybe this thing getting caught at the 65 EMA on the 5. We'll see. We'll see. No reason to be a hero, as we've kind of already discussed. CW Parker, levels for Planet Labs. When I look at the daily chart, this thing has just been a vigorous rider of the 50-day SMA, now the 20-day SMA as well. So as long as we hold above those, we should continue to see upside. I would kind of also put 24 out there as a figure to watch for support. Resistance to me looks like it's going to be at about 28.
Yeah.
Get through 28, we can go higher into the 30s.
Matthew here saying he agrees with the 671 on SPY. We need to close above that. Otherwise, we have a bigger downturn next week. Remember, Matthew, in addition to that, we have that 200-day chilling down there. So that move down, I wouldn't even be surprised to see it. I think you're probably right. Oh, it's okay if you don't capitalize my name. That's totally fine.
Dev's losing VWAP. Okay, so here we go with PayPay. We're getting a little bit of weakness here. We're still above the VWAP on PayPay, but we are getting some upside pressure on the 65 EMA. I get the sense that we do end up back testing the trend line. As long as we can hold above 21, we might be able to push higher. I do like the way that this double bottoming action here from going into the from the pre-market going into the open looks. But we do need to hold above some levels, so VWAP's going to have to be one of them.
Okay. All right, Retro, FFAI, it's one dead stock. Yeah, that thing really kind of moves on news, and if there's nothing going on there, it's kind of a ghost town. That SPY rejected again at the VWAP. Also did not have a supportive tick on the tick chart. Brent, take care of yourself. Do me a favor and enjoy your weekend, all right, boss?
Take care, Brent.
All right, SPY.
Really? Has Kodak and Nokia? I know Nokia. Dara's bringing up Nokia and Kodak. You're welcome. Nokia, yeah, I think that's going to be continue to be a good one. They are one of the partners for the NVIDIA's 6G development partnership. So looks like that one could continue to do well. Kodak, I've only brought up because that's just something that happens to get movement whenever Trump comes on and starts talking, because back in during COVID, that was the case. Every time that he came on, the stock would move because at one point he brought up how the company could be used to develop some vaccines. So it's kind of funny. Ever since then, that's been the case. Now, that was a while ago. Kodak looks like it did end up going all the way up to 10 and found resistance, late last year. We haven't been up there since, and it looks like it's been, getting hammered down. I don't know where you took your gains or where you entered, but it's looking like it's trying to find some support right now, and it may have got it around the low sixes. So we'll see if it can recover.
Sorry, Captain Claude, I've been trying to shout you out here. Got 50% on that SPY put trade that you threw in the chat for us, selling half. This is excellent execution, excellent call, excellent all around. Hello, friends. Chris Forsman, hello. Hey. Doing his best Jim Nance impression. Chris, are you watching the players? Who do you have? And welcome back. It's great to see you. Also, I know you're a Vikings fan. Tell me what you think about Kyler Murray.
Oh, yeah, because there's been a lot of transactions happening.
Dude, the NFC North has 3 of 4 of their quarterbacks are previous number 1 overall selections in Kyler Murray, Jared Goff, and Caleb Williams.
It's going to be an interesting year.
It's going to be an interesting year. I think, once again, that's going to be the most competitive division. And I'm not just talking about my team. I'm talking about the entire thing.
Oh, yeah. I love our Mount Olympus. Don't expect much from Kyler Murray.
Love Rory for the tournament. How's his back doing?
I was going to say, if Kyler Murray can stay healthy, I think he'll be great. But that's been kind of the issue, right? I mean,
yeah. Also, the folks question his dedication to the game, which you really need for a premier quarterback spot. Really quick, sports aside here, market is continuing to push lower. So the S&P futures just traded down to the VWAP there. It's held so far at about 6,700, but again, I don't know that it's necessarily out of the woods. The put trade from Captain Claudia was excellent. Captain Claudia, let me know what the stop is on that. I'd be curious to know, I would assume you're not going to let your trade go red, and with gains already booked, you're in the catbird seat, as Anne-Marie likes to say. But let me know what the rest of that plan is there. It was really good timing on your part. Some of the other stocks that moved higher here are pulling back. Bitcoin, interestingly, still on the highs. So our, let's just say, favorite risk-on indicator still showing pretty good, but it is diverging from the SPY.
Murray's certainly not great right now. He's been better in the past, and that's kind of what I'm drawing on. If he can stay healthy, I think he could be fine. But that's if he stays healthy. BIAF, new highs now. This has been the winner today.
I will say the BIAF has been a pretty good winner. I didn't really like any of these movers. The one that I think I was watching the most was PRZO, because I wanted to see how that gap kind of ended up finishing. And none of this really provided a good entry, in my opinion. Maybe I missed something. Wolf, a little bit of a continuation. I know folks were talking about this one yesterday.
Of the ones that we looked at, I think BAF looked the best. Devs I didn't like. ELPW I didn't like. PRZO was interesting, but I didn't know enough about that one.
Sure.
BMNR, we're also getting some more highs here as with Bitcoin still climbing higher. Yep. Expect there to be some profit taking in Bitcoin, though. I think we're still going to chop around with that. I don't think that we're going to start recovering soon. Okay, here we go. Perfect. With PayPay, this we got our move back down through VWAP. We're back testing the trend line now. So we're under $21. If we get this trend line to hold, then I think what can happen next is we'll come back up and go through that 65 EMA and head higher. But we need to hold above this trend line.
And we're getting that test right now, 13. This thing's pretty spread, too. I'm actually watching the level 2 on this. This thing's spread like 20, 30 cents.
I'll take your word for that, Jay. I don't know enough about Murray. I just only know what I've seen with him play in the past. But if that's the reason why Larry Fitzgerald retired early, that's pretty toxic. I think then that kind of changes my opinion on Murray a little bit. But I don't think he's bad as some of the other players that we've seen. I have a real concern about C.J. Stroud. I mean, he just didn't look like his head was in the game at all in the playoffs.
Ever since he big brothered Caleb, that was his downfall.
Yeah.
Don't forget, Jay's local in Arizona, so I'm sure he follows the sports news down there.
He would know better than I would.
Yeah. Happy birthday to Friday the 13th. Okay, we'll take that. We'll keep the vibes high.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Jason.
So far, pay. This has held that trend line that 13 was outlining.
Yeah, and
21 right now. Spreads actually tightened up to about 6 cents.
BIF new highs again, 273 now. It's a big seller in the way at 280. BTC acting as a hedge more than gold and silver. I think you got a lot more volatility and volume in BTC right now than gold and silver. And I know that the kids like crypto more. So I think you have a larger trading pool there. PRZO getting support from the 65 EMA, trying to turn around.
Captain Cloudy, love the tactics here. I'll shout this out. This was regarding the SPY trade when it actually broke the VWAP. The first upside move was a failed breakout of yesterday's high. When the bulls see that, they exit quickly. In addition to that, you also had the VWAP getting coughed up, so possibly might go lower the rest of the day. Really good entry, though, on that tactical trade. Yeah, I've heard the same thing, Jay, about Larry. Off the field, just an absolute tremendous man, in addition to being a first ballot Hall of Fame football player. Don't really see anything interesting. Ondas pulling back a little bit. Apple's pulling back a little bit. Bitcoin's still up near the highs. The VIX actually climbed to about just shy of 26.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
Don't really see anything else great. Dr. Manred, good luck on trading UVXY. I have donated way too much money to that. Thought I was going to be able to scalp volatility early in my career. Got humbled quickly.
HIMX, HIMAX, this one not having too bad of a day. We popped up out of the gate. It went up to 1152. Traded briefly back beneath the VWAP, and now we're recapturing it. Looks like it's trying to come up to 1125, 1130. There's some sellers in the way there.
And this is actually kind of what PayPay looks like, PAYP. It's trying to recapture its VWAP, but it just hasn't done it yet. Market continuing to leak here.
Mm-hmm. Look at the SPY, see what that looks like today. All right. So that area between 672 to 674, we were getting those previous all-time highs. That area was previously support. Now it's resistance. So I would expect that to be difficult to move back through. And already we have one rejection there from today.
NBIS getting mentioned by Billy. NBIS, this is actually a fairly decent move here too.
Getting asked about SoFi. Any thoughts on SoFi? Yeah, we had a death cross earlier this month. So that could potentially mean some more downside, though I think that we are coming down to some support around the $16 area. I think that I would be more comfortable going for a trade in this one once we've seen some clear signs of bottoming and maybe even a recapture of that 20-day SMA. We've been writing this SMA down all year. No closes above it, with the exception of maybe in the first week or two of January. But since then, no closes above it, and we death crossed. So it just seems like there's potentially a little bit more downside to go. I would think 16, you're going to see some better support before we put in a bottom.
Captain Cloudy, guess what? 100% on the rest of that trade. Awesome stuff. Awesome call out live in the group too. Awesome job sharing the tactics and what you saw. Absolutely love that. AIFF getting mentioned here by Wiss as that's trying to break out.
Just all around awesome.
I mean, it's our group. It's what we expect. Also, that PayPay is trying to. It did recapture its VWAP. It's actually trying to push away from it. I would actually watch the 2150 level where there was some decent volume traded at before. I almost wonder if it breaks that, if it shoots up towards that recent high in the 22 handle.
If we get a move over this 65 EMA and up through 22, I think you're going to see 22.50 to $23 be the next resistance area, because there's this little bit of consolidation we had in the pre-market before we dropped lower at about 715. So that's what I'd be keeping an eye on here. We need to recapture and hold above the 65 EMA next.
SCO, this was the short ETF or short oil ETF. This was a great call by Jay a couple of days ago. Mark Putrino talked about this morning. Oil's actually down 1.25% here, holding pretty much right at the daily pivot. So this might be a trading vehicle if oil starts to move.
CIFR will look good over 15.
2150 recaptured by PayPay. Now there's a bid at 2150. I knew that level was going to be important.
CW Parker, CIFR is kind of interesting on a monthly chart. Looks like it does not want to go beneath 1250. And it's really interesting because when this started trading back in December of 2020, the first areas we were having a lot of resistance at was 1250. We, dropped down dramatically beneath $10, kind of went sideways for several years. And only just recently, since the middle of last year, we've been starting to recapture some of these levels. Now that we're above 1250, that has become support. I think that it looks pretty apparent with the recent, if the past, 5 or 6 months of price action. You got to look at a monthly chart for Cypher.
You got it.
You see that? So if you basically draw a line right across 1250, you can see how that former area of resistance back from 2020 and 2021 has now become support in 2026.
Danielle saying no matter how much tankers Iran bomb, the market basically calls its bluff. I've been trying to tell you that. I'm trying to tell you that the market is trading like this won't be a severe thing. I know we're getting some talk about Iran being fairly devastated. People don't want to believe, but I think that's a good realization there, Danielle. Let me know if you end up trading the market or oil off any of that.
Remember that we are not just in a war for the Middle East and for the Strait of Hormuz, or not really a war, but more of a conflict at this stage. Remember that this is also a battle of propaganda. You're going to see a lot of news that's meant to shape your perception of what's going on, so that you can it can provide pressure on politicians and people making decisions here. So very, very important to keep that in mind, that you are seeing propaganda from every angle shape your decision.
You're absolutely right. By the way, Adobe, we talked about this earlier. This flashed like it wanted to make a bounce, but actually found some resistance at the area it bounced after the impulse move. Wanted to make sure I got that right there. We're basically straddling the VWAP here. So to me, this is in no man's land at the moment. I don't know that there's a trade here. I think this is one that you can be patient with on Adobe. I know there's definitely like a temptation to maybe trade this on a possible bounce back up. I think you can still be patient with this one.
Lots of bad looking price target. I mean, all these analysts are lowering their price targets on Adobe.
And so that would be something to watch, right? Yeah. When we continue to see more price target adjustments and then the stock stay flat, that's going to be one of your indications that maybe a reversal is due.
DMR new highs.
SPY's trying to bounce here. We'll see if 669 is the first one on deck. Also, S&P futures at the VWAP, trying to put in a bearish candle. Trying to put in a bullish candle by recapturing that VWAP. But hasn't officially done that yet. And I actually didn't see much off the unusual option. I know I saw some NVIDIA flow on that earlier. Those were all short-term dated. And we also saw Tesla on that reversal. I know, Iron, this was a good call by thinking about it. This stock ripped out of the open. Haven't seen a whole lot here on Iron. Looks like there's a little bit more call buying here. That's going to be short-term for next week or so.
So all the bearishness looking pretty good, TJ. I mean, this has been a massive fall, but I get the sense that we could still fall further. I've got my eye on 230 as a potential spot for where we could see the bottom. This is just a long-term trend line that I've had out here. It's also, pretty close to where the 200-month SMA is. That's down at 233.
Dara saying that the wedding industry stopped using Adobe mostly. A lot of those wedding photographers. Now, I know you said I know it's just one market, but it says a lot. Indeed, it does. And I'm pretty sure that's a pretty big market.
PRZO still climbing, looking for VWAP.
So did it finally bounce? Oh, it did. So look at that. So we actually got a little bit of a yank and recapture there. So this is interesting. This is gonna kind of no trade on this for me here today. One of the things I'm watching about some of these fair value gaps, especially the ones that are a little bit wider, is where in the gap is the stock most likely to turn around. And one of the things I've discovered is there's another break of structure or another very clear level that often coincides with it. The only things I saw here on PRZO today were some of these moving averages, but here we go. It actually looks like it's trying. We'll see if it gets back to that VWAP. Again, no position, no trade for me on PRZO. It was just kind of a watching.
Take care,
Ryan, have a good weekend. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next week.
Seeing the mention of FICO again, we were recently talking about this one.
Indeed, we were.
And I'm trying to pull up what I said about it. But for some reason, this search option is not. There we go. There we go. Why isn't it coming up? Okay, well, my comments aren't showing up here for that. Let me see if I can find it on.
For the chat?
Yeah. Let me just see if I can scroll back, because I remember we talked about this. Here we go. The company announced a proposal to take on more debt to pay debt due. I was referring to they did a $1 billion in senior notes capital raise, and when I was looking into that, they were restructuring some debt because they have some debt that's due soon this year, within the next 12 months. It's like $400 million. So this senior notes is supposed to take care of that, and there's also some other corporate purposes they're using it for, probably to pay themselves. But I think that that restructuring of debt may be viewed favorably here, because we're trying to come back into the downtrend channel that we fell out of yesterday. So we'll see if it can re-enter.
AIFF, WIS, and Supric, you guys have been on this all morning. Nicely done. Looks like we're getting another move here. Come on, chart.
Arden, I don't think you're trying to pump anything. You're just telling us what you did. And IBIT's, I think, probably one of the better ways to play Bitcoin without actually holding the underlying. Because you pretty much are holding the underlying if you get IBIT. Because I think my understanding is that's all that's in IBIT is just Bitcoin.
AIFF, WIS, this was a really good one, man. This was a really good call, and this ended up working. Supric, really good job trading this.
BIAF, coming back down to the trend line. This is where we need to see the price find support. It's in the consolidation area from earlier this morning before we had that big move up to 273. It's also where the trend line is. So if we lose this area and come back into VWAP, that could potentially spell more downside here, because then the trend line becomes resistance.
Okay. All right, almost out of time here. Remember, folks, no Anne Marie today. She has personal matters she's handling, but we'll get her back next week. We are going to be going over to Options Sandy here pretty soon.
Yeah, so get those options ideas ready.
On this PAYP, I love that the spread is tightened up. And I love that it's doing its best to kind of hold this VWAP area and maybe push back above 22. Let's see if we end up getting that here. PAYP.
Yeah, it's that 65 EMA that it's trying to get through now. Keeps
and there's a pull.
Yeah,
there is a pull. We've got the VWAP down there, 21.19. Kathy's saying the market has been down the last 2 Mondays since the war started. Hasn't it bounced on both of those Mondays intraday though? And based on that statistic that you're realizing, are you trading it on that? Out of curiosity, let me know. 13. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, let's look and see what we got from the past couple of Mondays. To your point, Monday we opened lower comparatively to Friday, and then completely engulfed that candle. Ended up closing much higher. The Monday before, we also opened lower comparatively to the Friday before, and ended up engulfing that one. So it seems like for the past two, or basically all of March, we've been opening beneath Friday's close and recapturing it and closing above Friday's close. That's happened 2 times in a row now. It doesn't look like it happened in February. So,
okay. All right, 13, we're out of time here. Closing words for the group as we head off into the weekend.
Folks, have a wonderful weekend. I know for some of you, it's going to be the spring break weekend. Enjoy that. Have some good times. Come back here with a refreshed set of determination, and we'll get some of these trades made. We'll make some money. We'll have a good time. I'll be full of crawfish, and I'll be happy as well. So, folks, have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy Sandy, and I'll see you on Monday. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.
All right, 13, really good stuff here this week. Enjoy the boil. We'll catch up with you next week. 13's departure leaves room for Sandra. I call Sandra. I call you Sandy. I call you Sandra. I think it's time here. Which one do you?
You call me. I'll be there.
Okay. Okay. I'll take that. What do you have on deck for us? You like them both? Okay, good.
Oh my gosh, Ryan, I'm tired this morning. I am trying to wake up. How are you doing today?
Okay, preach, Sandra, because I'll tell you what, these time for someone that wakes up at 4:30 in the morning, these time changes where we spring forward, it's been 2 years in a row now where I've got absolutely wrecked. And the craziest part is that Monday I make it, and then I feel good about myself for making it. And then Tuesday, it's like the train just bang. And that's what I was dealing with. So I am excited for this weekend. I hope you are too. What do you have coming up for us here today?
Definitely. We're going to talk about wartime volatility and how that pricing. I was hearing you say about, how tight and how wide that spread is. So as automators, we've really seen some crazy pricing out there. So I wanted to talk about that. And then we're going to take a look at maybe MU, Baba, Hood, and see what we got going. Maybe we'll have a trade to put on.
Okay, that's absolutely perfect. Several of those stocks were talked about here today, folks. Trading Made Simple with Sandy starts right now.
Welcome back, traders. This is Sandra with Trading Made Simple. I'm here to show you short-term proven strategies. People think trading is a one-size-fit-all market. It's not. We live trade and train daily. Let's talk trading.
Let me get ready to rock and roll. So today we're going to be talking about what's going on in the marketplace. Boy, it has been crazy if you haven't noticed. So as we can take a look at our visual on the chart with Thinkorswim, we're looking at Market Watch visual, and we can kind of see some green here, which has been really nice. Now we've had some crazy days where typically speaking, we're gapping down. And then all of a sudden, around 10 o'clock Eastern Standard, between 10 and 10:30, we get this like kind of a reversal, and then we start going in the opposite direction, right? And so this has been occurring over and over and over again. And so this is kind of a pattern. Now today, we're noticing that we actually opened up higher, right? So this was a little bit of a change for us. We opened up higher, and then what happened as we take a look at SPX on a 15-minute chart? We actually are starting to go down, right? And so as we opened up higher, we kind of raised through that 20 EMA, and then all of a sudden kind of did a reversal. We touched that 20 EMA, kind of tested it, and now we're bouncing right off of it. Looks like a nice clean bounce right here, actually on a 15-minute chart. This looks really nice on SPX. So are we going to see some signs of recovery, right? We've been doing, if we take a look at a day chart or a 4-hour chart, I really like to take a look at, you can see just the price movement. We, here, January 28th, hit our last pivot high on a daily chart. And then from there, you could see we did a double top February 11th, almost a month later. And then what did we do? Well, we ended up, kind of going sideways for a little period of time, and then we go down. But if you take a look at these candles, you could really see some large price movements. And this is where it gets a bit crazy with the volatility. Now, if you're an automator and you typically buy the ask because you're an aggressive buyer, as an example, a lot of these days you would have been slammed with this wartime volatility. And what's really the difference between, let's say FOMC and some of these job reports that we typically have during the week where our volatility is kind of spiked? Well, believe me, this wartime volatility has been crazy. And what does that do for pricing? It makes your option pricing so expensive that if you're not paying attention, because sometimes as automators, we just want to be aggressive when we get into the trade, and we're not really thinking about how much they're selling that option contract to us. And then what you'll notice is you're actually hitting your target. So your trade is going in the right direction. You're hitting your profit target, and yet you're not making any money or you're losing money. Guys, if you notice that happening, even with your manual trading, then let me tell you, it's really about the market makers jacking up the prices for the option contracts. Now, what can you do to alleviate this? There's a couple things that you could do as an automator as well as a manual trader. And a lot of times it just has to do with thinking about what's happening in the marketplace. There's so much fear going on that the market makers are jacking up the price because they really don't know what's going to happen next. And if you can be an option seller during this period of time, you could take advantage of those expensive prices. But what's the deal? If you take advantage of being an option seller and you don't have any protection, and then all of a sudden another volatility spike happens, you could really start losing money based on that volatility as an option premium seller. So you have to be careful because the risk versus the reward is completely opposite for premium sellers. But what other strategy could you use? You could use the debit spread. I know it sounds like such an easy fix, but it is. So I want you to start thinking more in lines of what's happening in our marketplace and adjusting to it appropriately. You could also tell the market makers when you want to get into a position that you're not willing to spend more than, let's say, 25% above that mid price. So you have the bid and the ask, you got the mid in the middle, and you can just easily calculate, plus 25%, see what that option price is, and tell the market makers, hey, look, I want to get triggered when SPX, as an example, breaks above 68.59, but I'm not willing to spend more than a specific amount for that option price. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. So let's take a look at a couple stocks here today that I had my eye on. So let's take a look at MU. Pretty decent consolidation. We got a positive momentum. We got earnings around the corner here, right? 318. Let's take a look at that on a 4-hour chart as we identify if we're going to be doing a breakout or a breakdown during this consolidation. You could see after hours as well as the last 4 or 5 days, we have some consolidation. We're actually breaking above that consolidation today with some momentum, and I like that. So as you can tell, my indicator, the bullseye, is indicating 412.87 for a long call. We are above that right now. Our first target is at 426.52, and it looks like We broke that first target, but then we came back down. And I want you to look above here. You can see some power lines. I call them power lines to really make reference that you have some resistance right above us right here on MU. Is it going to break out? Well, if it is, we could see higher prices for MU. This would be a nice, easy automation, actually, because if we were to clear and actually get to target take profit number 2, which is around the 440.17 level, we could easily rise up to the 453.82 on a 4-hour chart, right? So I really want us to see us break above those power lines because we have the previous pivot high. That's what that dash green line is. And then we have that dotted horizontal line, which is really a vertical line that's created from our pivots. You can see that we have some heavy resistance right there. So I would want to wait until we broke above it. So if I was going to do an automated trade on this, I would say, okay, let's see, breaking above that let's see, how about if we do, I like this 440 level, right? I mean, that's a clear break above and heading higher. Why don't we use the 440 for the calls? And then what happens if we do a reversion to the mean, meaning that we get over here, we just hit resistance, and then we immediately, do kind of like a reversal and come right back down? What's going to happen? Well, let's see. In that respect, can we prepare for that in an automated trade? I think we can. I like this stop loss level at 399.22. I'm going to call it 399. And then we're going to have a trade for next week that's already programmed in. We're not going to be sitting here waiting. We've done our analysis today on MU, and we're just going to do it. Just like Nike, just do it. Once you start automating, you can get on a simulated platform and become more proficient with your automation skills. All of a sudden, you're going to be so lucky, you're going to be sleeping in. And by the way, that is the reason here in Southern California, it's really early. That's why I learned automation, believe it or not. And now I teach thousands of people how to easily automate their trades so they can go live their lives or sleep in, which was my main objective when I learned. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go over to our trade tab, and we're going to pick, why don't we pick, let's see, we got 7 days, March 20th. We could pick next week. We could just say, hey, this is a trade for next week. And we're going to come over here and do a debit spread. I have a lot of strikes here. I could limit them by adjusting that. But what I'm going to say here is I'm going to just take an at the money. Now, you can see here the bid and the ask is really quite wide. So what I want to do is I wanted to just take a look at a single to see what the bid and ask is. I'm really surprised how wide this is, guys. I just want to show you this. This is a 7-day out at the money. Look, we have plenty of volume and open interest. And you could see that the difference here is 21.50 to 22.35. I'd have to say that I just think that that's way too wide. That's $130 difference between the bid and the ask. That is crazy. I'm not going to take this trade just because of that. If you put yourself on a single and you can see that the bid and the ask is $130 difference, the answer is no. You do not want to get into that trade. It's too expensive. And this is basically putting yourself at a lose-lose situation. I can't believe how high that is, guys. Still shocking to me. Here's $80 difference if we move down just a little bit. That's still too much. I don't like it. I'm going to trust my instincts and just bypass that one. Let's take a look at BABA. Do we have anything? We just might just go and be a SPY and a QQQ trader right now during this period where these prices are ridiculous. And that's why you're not making any money if you've noticed that. So here we have a $45 difference. I don't like it at the money. I also don't like that there's not a lot of volume. Now this is 14 days. Let me see if if we can find better. Ugh. Look at the spread on here, guys. And look, we don't have a lot of action here on BABA. So I'm going to bypass this. bypass it. Sorry, I may have been interested, but don't like it. Unless you are a share purchaser and hold, you could do it that way, actually. That's way better. Oh, look at this, guys. We got 280, 286. Hood looks decent. Let's take a look at the chart. I want to make sure that, $10 comparably to what we just saw, $130, guys, on MU. Mind blowing. Don't do it. It's just a lose-lose situation for options traders. All right. So as we take a look at a 4-hour chart, we could see that MU is actually breaking down. Looks like it was actually, Hood. I was actually looking at this. You can tell on a different time frame. Let's remove those drawings so I could see good. Okay, so we're coming down to our pivot low here at 73.43, and here is our vertical pivot that we just broke down on a 4-hour at 74.95. This actually could mean that we could go a lot lower. What do we need to see? Because we're you see how we trade within this range, guys, of the pivot low, pivot high? What we're looking for is a break, right? If not, then this is just going to bounce and go higher to the next pivot high. So as we're trading in this range, you can either range trade by buying a call when it hits support, or you're looking for that breakout, which means that you're breaking down below this level. So let's prepare ourselves for if I can get that out. Let's prepare ourselves for both scenarios here. So I'm looking for 73.30 to the downside for Hood to go lower. And if we, let's see, if we break above this pivot high right here, right, it's a vertical trend line. If we break back above it, so let's say let's take that 75.52 for the higher side. And so now I'm going to show you how you could use automation just to create that trade based on your 4-hour analysis for next week. So let's go over to the trade tab now that we've analyzed what tickers we're not going to take because of that wide bid and spread. You definitely do not want to do that. You could see we have about a 10-12 cent difference. That's okay. Now, if I was to say, hey, look, we have a 10-12 cent difference, what is the in between of that at 6 cents, right? So what I want to do is just either take the high or the low of that and say, okay, what's the midpoint? So if I said, okay, it's 253 plus 6 cents, 259. So that's my midpoint. And remember I said I'm going to make sure, because I don't know what the headlines are going to be next week or even this afternoon. I have no idea what's going to happen with the conflict, with the war, and I don't know what's going to happen to my option pricing. So instead of being an aggressive buyer of this option contract, I'm going to show you how you could tell the market makers, I want to get into this, but if you go above my asking price, I'm not coming in. And so we figured out the mid price very easily just now. And so now I'm going to say, okay, 259 is my max price for this option contract, right? All right. And what did we do? We just took the at the money. Let me do that again. Let me see what it looks like on a vertical. Okay. Well, we could still use the mid for that as well. Yeah, why don't we do that? So you have 65, and what is this? I'm looking right over here, guys. 65 minus 41 is 24 cents. Divide that by 2 is 12 cents. So you're looking at 40 plus 12. My mid price is around 52, okay, 52 cents. And then I'm going to plus that by 25%. And I'm saying I'm not paying anything above 65 cents for this vertical contract. Okay, now that we have the table set, 65 cents. I hope you got that. You're in between the bid and the ask. You find the middle, and then you just say 25% above that, I'm not going any higher. Okay, and for us, that's 65 cents. Now, I'm going to take an at the money call here. And I'm going to go ahead and set this in. So right now, what we're going to do is I'm going to actually do a custom order here so that I can buy custom with a stop. No, I'm going to say buy a vertical custom with I'll say a stop, but I'm going to use it as a profit target. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, oh, that's interesting. I did a custom and it gave me singles. So let's do it the manual way, unfortunately. We're going to buy a vertical. We got our vertical here. We're going to go ahead and program it. Here is our order forms. So we're going to come down here like we normally do on Benzinga and say, okay, mark greater than or equal to, right? So we're wanting to get into a long call. If this goes a call debit spread, if this goes above 75.52, so we're going to take 75.52 and tab out. And the next thing we're going to do is, so this is our trigger. It's telling the system when we hit 75.52, make sure that this contract is waiting and ready to go. But we're also saying, hey, look, I'm not going to be an aggressive buyer. This is what we typically do. And we saw our option prices getting filled at 100 to 500% more than we would ever want to get into that. And as you saw with the spreads that we just saw, it's a lose-lose situation. So you want to make sure that you find something reasonable out here. Now, we did the math just a minute ago and we said, hey, look, we're going to put this as manual and we're not going to pay anything over 65 cents on this. And that would be 25% above the mid price for this vertical call debit spread. And so this is how you now would program your trade, knowing, hey, look, I want to get into this once hood gets above 75.52, but only get me in if it's 65 cents or lower for this call debit spread. And that's all you got to do. So now we got a 74.75 call debit spread. The reason we used a debit spread is because of the crazy volatility and the conflict war. The pricing of these option contracts are ridiculous. We want to take advantage of selling a contract because of the high prices. So you could see that we bought one and we sold one, which actually creates this debit spread. And now we are automated so that we're protected against some crazy prices. And if it doesn't trigger, then I saved myself money. Because here at TMS, we're trying to save yourself some money or make yourself some money, but we're not just willy-nilly going to give up our money for no good reason. Okay, guys? So that is how you would protect yourself. Now, if I wanted to put a profit target on this, I would just say first triggers a sequel, and then I would put myself in an opposite order here. And so now I have a buy order and a sell order, right? And here now, if you've been with us, if you've been following us at tradingmadesimple.org, you know that we stay right on top of the market for automated orders. And ever since Schwab took over TDA, the automations have been really, really trigger happy on the stop losses. And when that ends up happening, you have to be mindful of that and know. As an example, I had a Tesla position where I was actually making hundreds of dollars on a vertical spread. And because it had two legs, the morning volatility went crazy, stopped me out on a position that I actually was in the money with. Okay. When you see something like that happen with programming, you have to say to yourself, I have to change this. Because if not, this is going to happen over and over and over again. So what we did is we said, hey, look, once a day, because debit spreads handle much easier than a straight call and a straight put, just look at your trade once a day. If it's over a 50% stop loss, just close it. 50% or more, just close it. Easy management. However, we can go ahead and put in a take profit. And so that's what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and put trigger. I'm going to say a percentage. Now, typically on my automations, I like a 50% take profit. But because we have this crazy volatility, the wartime conflict, we're going to say, instead of me looking for a 50% profit, I'm only looking for a 25% profit. Why? Because the market is changing so quickly. You could, you could wake up to a gap down, and then by mid-afternoon, you are then recovering and going past the open. And so because of that, you want to take your profit in one direction, get out, and just be prepared for the other direction. So I'm going to take my profit here. And because these are so inexpensive, I'm going to go ahead and take 3 of these. So very simple order here, guys, right? Very simple order, and I'm protected, good till close. I'm going to confirm. I'm going to read that order so you could see. It says buy 3 vertical spreads when we're at or above 75.52. But hey, I don't want to get into it if that option contract is higher than 65 cents. If it's 65 cents or below, it'll give me the best price. Okay. So if it is less than, if it's, let's say 55 cents, it'll give me the 55 cents. It'll give me the best price. But we don't want to go higher than 65 cents because we recognize wartime volatility. We are not groundhogs that come here and do this day in and day out without changing our approach to what the market is bringing us. Now, remember, we want to take a put if this breaks down, right? So now we're going to go to the put side. And I always protect ourselves. We actually put our trades on in the Sunday nights. And we always do a call as well as a put for each ticker. And that's because, again, you just don't know what's going to happen and you need to be prepared. So here I'm just going to take an at the money. Let's take a look at the bid and the ask, guys. Let me get my calculator. So you got 54 cents minus 37 is 17 divided by 2 is about 8.5 cents. 8.5 cents plus the bottom portion of that, or the top portion, doesn't matter, is 89 cents. Is that right? Yeah. 6.5 cents. Let's just call it 7 plus. So we're looking at about 47 cents for your mid price. So now we're going to take that 47 cents and we're going to say, okay, 47 cents plus 25% is 59 cents. So nothing greater than 59 on this contract, guys, regardless of what's happening. So now I'm going to go ahead and buy my contract for a put debit spread at the money. Going to come right over here to the gear icon where you can actually then program your trade. So first thing we're going to go over here is say, hey, we want our trigger to be a stock price. This, by the way, as I'm spitting all over the place, is less than equal to. This is greater than equal to. You can always look right down here and see what the trigger actually says. So the first one is less. And then we said our price was going to be 73.30. If we break below there, we're going lower. Higher probability trade if that happens, right? And so we have that set now for the stock price. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come right over here to our manual and we're going to say we are not going to spend anything over 59 cents. So we're going to put that in the 59. This is a manual entry, okay? We have it locked, nothing over 59 cents. So now we have everything programmed in. We're going to save it and we're going to say, okay, now we're going to do a sequel. We're going to add a opposite order because we need a close order. I'm going to turn this into a profit target. I'm going to say trigger, use this as a percentage. I'm going to say 25% because I recognize that it's been a crazy market environment. I'm going to make sure that both of these are good till cancel because I don't know when this is going to trigger. We have 7 days. This is a 1 week out. We don't know when it's going to trigger, but we want to make sure that we close this before next Friday if it ends up opening and not hitting our profit target or our stop loss. And what are you going to do with the stop loss? Well, you're just going to monitor it once a day. If it hits 50% or more on this debit spread, you're going to just close it out. Easy management. If you hit your 25% take profit, then great. That'll be automatic. I'm going to take 3 of these like I did on the other ones. And now we have a very simple yet effective way to protect ourselves during volatility. And we're going to come over here to the order form and say, okay, we're going to buy 3 of these debit spread vertical puts, nothing over 59 cents. And go ahead and put this in active when hood is at or below 73.30. And we're going to close those when we hit 25%. Could these end up being a day trade? Absolutely, this can, right? Lots of day trading during high volatility sessions. And actually, day trading is actually really good during high volatility. Can you do day trading while you are an automator? And the answer is yes. Now you could see on our platform, if we go below that area that we identified, we are going lower. If we take a bounce here, when we break above that vertical trend line right here, what's going to happen? We're going to come see prior highs, right? We're just in this range. As you can see, we're just in this range. and we're going to take that. And what's your stop loss? Just a visual on a 50% stop loss. All right, guys, remember that debit spreads, limited risk, limited reward, taking advantage of high volatility. Why? Because one of your contracts, you're selling it. So it evens out that crazy pricing that the market makers want to get you into. They think you're a sucker. Don't be. Remember, when you actually know that you are in a winning trade because you got into the trade, it went in the right direction, but you made no money or you lost money, okay? The option price was too expensive. And because of that, no matter what you buy in life, if the price is too high and you can never sell it, then you have to keep lowering your price to sell it until you didn't make any profit anymore. And that's exactly what's happening in our marketplace with this wartime volatility. You can research this to look at the COVID crash, the flash crash, as well as previous wars that we've had. From CBOE, you can take a look at the option pricing, and you can actually study and see that option pricing during this period of time, not, usually there's like a 10 cent to a 30 cent difference between simulation and your real platform. Now you're looking at your real normal activity versus wartime volatility or conflict. And you're talking about from, 100% to 500% for option pricing if the volatility is there while your automations or while you're clicking the button. So be mindful of that. I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. We'll see how Hood does.